Good morning. Good morning. Take your seats, please. Good morning, everybody. You're going to see me holding this mic. Can you say, why isn't the speaker working? And this is just meant for that camera back there. And one of the things we'll tell you is when there's questions or comments, we want to capture it through that video camera. So we're going to hand you one of these two mics. So make sure that, let's all make sure together that when somebody's talking, they have one of these mics. So again, we appreciate you being here. Is the volume good? Can you guys hear me on my voice? Yes? Okay, so Bill, Mike, George, we're going to have, I think, a higher volume than usual since we don't have the PA. But this is our third industry sector partnership that we're launching here for our region. And when you say, why are you guys doing that? It's because our regional development agency, the LVGA, it's over here. They have a comprehensive economic development strategy. I say they. I am also on their board, and we have, I think, a couple of fellow board members here. I know Stephen from Cox is here. Also, Frank from CSN. Where are you, Frank? So at least two, right? Did I miss anybody else? So that's 3 of the 50 LVGA board members. We approved a few months ago Southern Nevada's Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. That was funded by the USCDA, or Economic Development Administration. And it talked about, again, in broad, what is the economic development strategy or strategies for our region. And from there, from the SEDS, as we referred to it, came the workforce blueprint for this year, which is the updated version. The last one was 2019. The first one was 2017. And here it highlights the 7 target industries that we're trying to work on to diversify our economy here in Southern Nevada. It also talks about the top 100 occupations within those industries, skill sets, but most importantly, the gap between what we call the supply or this talent development pipeline and, of course, the demand that you employers have. And today we're going to dive into that issue because the reason we have this workforce blueprint is to guide our investment. There's about $120 million of workforce development money that comes through something called the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. It's actually just passed the House yesterday, I think, and has to go to the Senate. So it's had bipartisan support over the decades, and it's meant, again, to move people from dependency on the system to self-sufficiency, from being part of the tax burden to being part of the tax base. And so there's about $120 million that comes here to Southern Nevada. And this workforce blueprint helps us guide how we invest those training dollars to support these target industry sectors. And so, again, what we have never had here in our region are industry sector partnerships. Why are those important? Because they're driven by employers. So you'll see right here, we're very purposeful that it's you who's in the middle of the room. We're going to be your facilitators for the next few hours, but it's your voice we want to hear. And so you'll also observe that in the back of the room, we have the skill acquisition partners. So whether it be CCSD, CSN, UNLV, there's a slide. Can somebody show me that slide so I make sure I don't forget the skill acquisition partners? Chris, can you slide the PowerPoint? One more time? One more time? One more time? Okay. So here they are. See, I was forgetting. Nevada State College. Tom, thanks for being here. WGU, Nevada Help Desk, Innovate. So, and there could be more. So this is our first meeting. As you can see, it's tough to gather more than 12, 15 people logistically. And so, but here we are launching this industry sector partnership. And at the end, after today's session, and this is just the first day, what we hope this leads us is to that your voice, your needs, will shape those investments and what we build when it comes to a talent pipeline for your industry, starting at K through 12, moving through the post-secondary skill acquisition system. So everybody good on why we're here? Okay, so with that, I'm going to ask our host to welcome us. And again, we appreciate, Jamie, that UNLV opened up their house to us. And I'll pass the mic on to you. And this is just for recording, so if you don't hear anything, don't worry.
Okay. Well, welcome to Blackfire, everyone who hasn't been here before, and welcome to the UNLV Research and Technology Park, which we're awfully proud of and excited to be building out. In our office here, We're focused, as you can see through this lab, on innovation. We work with a lot of startups, both on campus and off campus. And then we also house a UNLV Small Business Development Center, which, if you're familiar with the SBDC, it's an organization that is sponsored and supported by the SBA, and it's for the purpose of helping small businesses and entrepreneurs lift off and grow their businesses. So with a kind of comprehensive approach from our end, helping small businesses and startups connect with the rest of the ecosystem, we're really excited to have all of you here and to learn how do we better connect with you and how can the university better respond to the needs and the workforce needs, really, that all of you are facing now. So thanks for being here, and I'm really excited to hear your feedback today.
Okay, so we want to be respectful of your time, so we're just going to dive right in. The last two times what we did is during our working lunch, which starts at, somebody help me, 12:30, is that right? At 12:30, we'll do formal introductions. So there's three questions we want to start with, if you will, and they're all really the same thing. Is we want to identify and define your common workforce challenges, but maybe you have unique ones as well. And then at the end, we'll, after we filter out as a team here, we're following a formula. Just so you know, this is called the Next Generation Partnership Model, where, again, the employers are the voice we want, and the facilitators basically divide things in short, mid, long term, and then we talk about solutions or potential opportunities for collective action, they call it. So this is how we're going to start. We're going to ask you, you have three colors of paper in front of you, and we're going to start with the orange. And we're going to ask you to put one idea or one challenge, I should say, on that piece of paper, on each piece of paper. So if you have three that you want to list, go ahead and write three. And we're going to start to pick them up from you and put them up here on the board so that later on we can kind of try to identify any common themes that we might have across all of you. So go ahead and get started. And I'm going to give you an example of what came out in the other two sector partnerships. Of course, the first one, we just need warm bodies, you know, somebody with a pulse, they said, and breath, and we can teach them our business. We just need people. And so we understand that. And by the way, there is no simple solution to that, right? I'm sad to say it's not something that's going to be solved tomorrow, because it's not just the pandemic. For decades now here in our country, birth rates have declined. You know, people stopped having 2.3 babies. I don't know how you had that 0.3, but that was, I only had 2. And so I did my part to create this mess. For those of you who did more, good for you. But we've just stopped having babies. And what happens when your economy grows and you have less workers available? It's a shortage. And they say, well, what about immigration? Immigration has declined also over the decades. And so there's been several things. And then, of course, older population retiring. So it's just a bunch of factors really weighing on this labor shortage. And again, it's not going to be corrected right away. But that's the first one we heard. I don't want to give you too much, right? Because I don't want to influence them. But we want to hear about, again, short term first. Not mid and long term, but short term, what are your challenges? So again, that's one. I can't find a person today. But there's other things as well. And so who has one? I want to get one off the... Yeah, okay, very good. I want to read this one. Thank you, Heather. Okay, so this one says, the post-secondary committee process. Please, we need to hear more about that, because I'm a little lost.
Sure. Hi, my name is Heather Brown. I'm president of a nonprofit here in town called Startup Vegas. We were really excited to get kind of working about 15 months ago. We started organizing different founders in town, and we really wanted to become a community hub. And one of the pieces that you need is a good workforce, right? So we applied for ARP funds, and we were awarded ARP funds. It's awesome. We're really excited to be able to train especially former hospitality workers into go-to-market positions that are highly, long-term stabilities there, great pay. We're talking $90,000 plus. And so we submitted our application to the post-secondary work committee, and they rejected us outright. They don't understand what this go-to-market position is. They don't understand, and to me, the post-secondary committee, for anybody who doesn't know, like came about in the 70s because we didn't want diploma mills. What I'm doing is not a diploma mill, but I'm being told that I have to, every time I edit my curriculum, which it's tech, I should be editing my curriculum pretty regularly, I have to go back to the committee and get them to approve it all over again. One of the things that I wish he's not here, but there was a well-known coding lab that came to town, and they had to pay for staff and a building for almost 15 months before they were approved. And that's just not
Talk about tech impact.
tech impact, yeah. 15 months. They had to pay
So,
staff and everything else. So
I'm hearing, Heather, that you are a skill acquisition partner. Is that true? Do you provide curriculum for training in this industry?
yes, for our particular programs, that's correct.
But only for your employees or for the employees of other companies?
No, so we don't actually have employees. We're just a nonprofit that's developing workforce programming.
So you are a training partner, okay.
Yeah, so we're
Your name wasn't up here, though.
I'll give you my logo.
Well,
Put
no,
it up
it's
there.
I somehow you snuck onto the employer table. That's what I'm saying. That's fine, but as you can see, the other skill acquisition partners are on the outside.
Sure.
Because this issue is kind of a part of the second part of the conversation. It's a solution, right? How do we get the curriculum, credentials? That's part of the second part. So if I could put a pause on that issue.
Happy to.
And yeah, and then keep in mind this, that obviously we're not going to move you, but just be mindful that the skill acquisition partners that are on the outside of the room, to follow this next generation model, one of the important things is that they must be in listening mode. And they're very disciplined now. They've practiced, I think, 3 times. They don't, and it's hard, but right now your job is to listen to the employers. And then later you'll be part of the solution, because again, your role in this industry sector partnership is one of somebody who develops and provides curriculum. Am I right?
Well, so I think I might be, I don't know why I'm here or not here, but, or in particularly this inner circle, but I also represent a bunch of founders that are actively trying to hire people in these go-to-market positions, and we can't train them until the post-secondary. So it's a gray area, but I'm happy
We're not
to
going to
move.
move you, but as you can hear, the word train came up again.
Sure.
And so I just want you to kind of own that badge that you're a trainer. And just for now, until it's time for the trainers to speak up, I want you to kind of join the others and just switch to listening mode, if that's okay, about those people who are hiring or need to hire today. Is that fair?
Cool.
Okay, thank you, Heather. All right, have we picked up any other ones? Oh, here we go. So let me, okay, very good. So Jake just gave me one. Who put down technology certifications? All right, so Nathan, I'd love to, do we have a mic over there for him, please? Remember, this is just for the recording, so thank you for doing that. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about this, Nathan.
You know, there's a lot of industry certifications, and, you know, we struggle even with our existing employees to convince them the importance of continuing education, renewing the certificates, renewing their education. There's a lot of opportunities out there, but it just seems like a, you know, general issue in the technology industry of continuing education. People get complacent with where they're at, and it's a high cost too. You know, there's a lot of, you know, cost involved, whether it's going to a boot camp or, you know, going, you know, to schooling. It's I don't know, it's something here in Vegas that I think is a general thing of the continuing education. We get a lot of the response that, well, I have experience, I don't need the background certifications. So in our industry, there's no you know, required licensure, so there's no required training to become a technology professional. So just convincing people that that's important is a difficulty for us.
I always assumed that your industry, some of the highest in this regard, is an industry that's always evolving in your certifications, because technology evolves, right? So I always heard examples that 40 years ago you can go to college to be a computer or something, and that would last a while. But now, not anymore. You have to keep, you know, evolving your credentials, acquiring. You know, it's like a life learning process for you guys in your industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, most certifications have an expiration date. So whether it's a CompTIA or Cisco or Juniper or whatever it may be, you have to continue to recertify or gain additional certifications to retain your existing certs. And you know, our struggle with our workforce is convincing them to retain their active certifications.
And so if I heard you correctly, 2 things. I said maybe helping the industry, your industry, get the message out to everybody that, hey, in this industry we have to accept the fact that it's something that you need to do. Did I hear you right? That, okay, and the
Correct.
narrative. And then also I heard you say price could be a barrier because not everybody, not every employer, not every job seeker has the money to upskill. Did I hear that?
Correct.
So the good news there, you guys, again, is that's why we're here, because the money I talked about is, or the reason we do that blueprint is so that we can align our investment. So again, you heard a little bit ago, Heather mentioned something called the post-secondary commission, which approves, again, post-secondary training, not the K through 12 training, but post-secondary training. And then that goes on something called, I didn't want to give you these government terms yet, Eligible Training Provider List, or ETPL. And it's the list that you must be on for us to pay for the training if it leads to a credential. There's other ways to pay for training, and I'm not going to go there yet. But bottom line is, we want to hear that so that we can set aside money for employers and for job seekers to acquire those certifications that you're talking about. So that's the good news and how it connects and why you're here. Does that help, Nathan?
Perfect.
Awesome. What's the next one, Jake? And we're just asking for the ones that need a little clarity that we, so this one says customer service focused technicians. I think I know what this is, but who is this? Because, all right, Peter, tell us what you,
So we've built out a good training program and structure to kind of build technicians at the start of their career up kind of through into a sysadmin type of a role. But that foundation of what we need, which Vegas is good for, is really customer service focus. And I think sometimes, some techs come out of different programs like a WGU, and they don't always have that, right? Like they have some, academic understanding of troubleshooting process and technical know-how, but they don't always have enough kind of hands-on experience, whether it be dealing with a frustrated client, kind of being able to learn some of those soft skills of active listening and kind of finding ways to kind of calm them down in a frustrating moment, right? To be able to kind of validate their frustration without necessarily accepting blame of the cause of the issue. So it's having kind of more of a focus of people coming into our pipeline that have a customer service focus is really important to us. So having people starting their career with that sort of soft skill already developed, and then being able to build them through collaboration, kind of certification on the job training of the particulars of building out that technical skill base. So that's been kind of a struggle for us, is finding people who have that, because if I can find someone who's come through one of these programs that is technically strong, but just doesn't present well, can't talk well with the clients, a lot of the job is very client focused, and they need to be able to have those skills, because otherwise it doesn't really matter if you're technically strong or brilliant if the customer has a poor interaction with that. Like, it doesn't matter that you fix the issue or that you fixed it efficiently or quickly if you have poor communication along the way.
so I think I heard you, and we're clear now that we have to, we're looking for a solution to that. And so whether, I don't know if it belongs in the K through 12 or post-secondary, but I think now I understand, and we're going to talk about that on the next stage. How do we move on that? But we know that there is industries, for example, hospitality is really good at that. I spent 20 years at MGM. Is MGM here? I saw a name. I don't know Derek, but I spent 20 years there. And there's a high level of expectation in customer service there, right? I mean, they could order the wrong wine, break the fine china. It doesn't matter. We keep smiling, and because we want you back and we want your money. And so the other day I had a vendor come to my house to fix a broken window. And they did a good job, technically decent, everything was clean, but the person had really poor skills. So next time, I think I'm gonna call another company, and you can say, well, why? There's something, like you just said, there's something about that interaction that's very important, and so I think we know how to move on that. That will be a part of our solution. So the next one is digital, you know what that says? Skills, okay, that's a cool looking, like almost a hieroglyphic, whoever writes like this. I want to, digital skills, who's that?
That was Derek.
Oh, Derek, okay, did he get called out?
We'll skip another one.
Okay, no worries. See, that's why I left MGM, they don't leave you. I used to be, so I worked in facilities, and if a pipe would break at midnight, they call you. If a thermostat wasn't working at 3 in the morning, there was a high roller, on a table, and he went like this, boom, they called you. It's like crazy. So, all right, private-public partnerships. Okay, I'm getting to see you guys are not the best writers. You're like doctors. I want to hear about that, Russ. Private-public partnerships.
I'm Russ Logan. I run AI Media Lab. We're basically we take artificial intelligence and we put it in content and media. So that's like face, voice, and content. So private-public partnerships, I came from municipal government in my first 15 years of my career. And one of the big things that I'm trying to do here with AI Media Lab, as well as with other technology companies that I've built, is really kind of bind. I feel like for our state, this is something we've been trying to solve in the technology sector from day one, and I think it starts at the top, from Nevada, like governor, all the way down. And I think there's a lot of things that are broken within like the RFP process. As an example, I apologize if anybody works for CCSD, but when we did a proposal for CCSD for a digital solution when I was with Originate, we had to print out two, probably 70-page copies for a digital solution, which is kind of ironic. And the idea here is not to push blame, but I think what we need to do, we need to be able to get in the room like we're doing today, which I appreciate. And we need to be able to take what government and public entities know well, which is they typically have access to capital, they have the good processes and the know-how, they have the knowledge, and then let the technology companies come in and be able to show them some agility, show them some of the things that we've learned, from Silicon Valley, from New York, from here. This, as everybody always says, this town was founded on entrepreneurship, and we can move extremely quickly here. But what slows like a company like mine down, for instance, is if I'm working, with public entities, and we're trying to create that voice, we're trying to create that knowledge, we're trying to be able to get in there and identify those things and move very quickly because people are busy, and it's hard for us to compete if somebody has meetings all day longs or their competing interests. And trust me, I've worked in public government, and it's very tough. But I feel like through the quick partnerships that we've had with UNLV, CSD that we're speaking to right now in Clark County that we're working with currently, we're starting to give what that feels like. And it's not perfect, but you're starting to be able to see some absolute great software come out of some of these entities. But I feel like if we're not able to be in the room and use our minds together, then we're just talking. And as a person who's born and raised here, like the reason why I left was to start something in the private sector to come back and work with the public sector. And there are definitely skill sets on both sides. And I feel like if we don't bridge that gap, then we're just gonna stall out. If we work together though, to take the best of what we know in technology, and when I say technology, I mean, software. IT and software are two different things, and I think that's something that should be clarified. And they're both absolutely important. But software, is that custom thing that's going to run what your computer does. Where IT, you're connecting those things, those tissues, the DevOps, and then you have the cybersecurity on top of it. But I feel like if we're able to work close together and say, look at what we built here. Too often I was looking elsewhere at some place in Vermont that would build our software and bring it in, and then they left. How many times does a big company come in and lock you into an 8-year contract, and then they leave? And then everybody around this table can tell, that sucks, it doesn't work. Well, it can work. I'm in the field. Like, you can build stuff that works, but you've got to get rid of the red tape, and you got to be able to be lean. And we have very smart people in this valley, and nothing would make me happier than to get in the room, do the hard work, and reinvent what an RFP process looks like, for example. Have a board at the very top of the state or in Las Vegas that makes decisions that actually understands what it is to build multi-billion-dollar things like a Starbucks app. Like, I've done that. We've done that. We have those people. If we have the right people sitting at the table, I feel like we can make decisions to point at the right people to make those decisions and do some amazing things. So I just think without a public-private partnership in the right way, that is just one essential thing that I think is missing that I think we can all agree that will make this place amazing. Let people look at us.
Thank you, Russ, because that's why we're here, right? So I appreciate that you're here too. This sector partnership is a private-public sector partnership, and it's a model that works across the country. If you did a little research on it, there's multiple regions that have moved the needle in this regard because, again, they're using the employer's voice to drive the investment, and that's what we need to do at the end of the day. And so you can see that this, again, is not just the LVGA and Workforce Connections, it's also the Chambers of Commerce. So when I'm here standing in front facilitating for you today is because these are the partners who have said, we have to do this. We have to let you guide these investments. And I know when I met Russ, it was through this RFP process. I'm not going to name any names of organizations, but it was an RFP process that just blew their minds because it took 4 years and then ended up buying something off the shelf anyway when there was customized solutions that were probably better fits. But again, that's what we need to change. And so you guys being here and expressing that is hopefully was going to drive us there. So, oh, okay, time. So let me get Derek, because he had one. What was the one that we wanted to ask him about?
Digital skills.
Can you tell us what you mean by digital skills?
Digital skills as a whole, I think, and this is, hello, thank you, hello?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
don't worry. You're not going to hear it. It's just for a recording.
Oh, got it. So it's, when we think about the valley as a whole, right? I think there's stats out there that show that the state of Nevada is most susceptible to automation, digitization, and digitization. However, when we think about upskilling from a technology standpoint, our employees at MGM are not quite there, right? And part of the reason why they're not quite there is and I think my friend over here just mentioned it, that they've been working for 20 years. Right, they've been doing the same role for 20 years with very little to no professional education or continuing education. So now, as we're looking to venture into the fourth industrial revolution, they're not quite prepared, and we have to start from scratch. And having to start from scratch, the gap between starting from where they are now to where we need them to be and the time we needed to get there, it's quite a lift. In terms of short-term needs, I think we need more upskilling specifically in the digital area to really meet the needs, not just for MGM but across the state.
Thank you, Derek. That adds clarity. So you guys got that, right? So when you filter through the things, okay. So we're going to move now to the next category. That doesn't mean, by the way, if you still have ideas for short-term, give it to us and we'll put it here. And while you're having lunch, the team is going to go in there and do their job to make sure we thread those into common themes. So let's switch to midterm, though. And midterm, again, is not today. It's maybe a few months from now. Not years from now, because that's long-term, but a few months from now. So what challenges do you have in the midterm? I'll give you an example again. One of the things that comes up a lot, and again, this short midterm, sometimes it blurs into each other because there's not a hard date, right? It's like 3 months is midterm. So we've heard from other sectors that, again, this bureaucratic process that we bureaucrats have can get in the way, right? Whether it's approving curriculum or whether it's responding to your needs. I heard somebody mention something. When you work with us, there's something called an OJT, or on-the-job training, which is employer-driven. So you've heard a little bit about how we pay for something that a training provider might provide, whether that be UNLV, CSN, Nevada State College, WGU, University of Phoenix. They might have a course that your employee needs to meet your needs, and we can pay for it. We can use that the workforce money to pay for it. But there's also something that's employer-driven. So if you have training or skill acquisition that you need to provide your employee that's not a classroom, we can pay for that as well through this process called on-the-job training. What does that look like? Let's say that this training or skill acquisition process, first of all, we have to calculate a skill gap to identify what is exactly they're missing. And then you get to tell us it's going to take me 3 months to make sure that this person acquires these skills. And during that time, as you know, they're not 100% where you want them to be yet because they're on that journey. And so we will reimburse you as an employer 50, 75, up to 90% of their wages for that training time. So again, that's just one of the tools that we have. When you say, what are those millions of dollars used for? Pay for classroom training, pay for on-the-job training, pay for work experience for people. And so those are some of the things that you'll see. These industry sector partnerships are going to make available to you as an industry, not just our regular funding that this drives, but we've also, the $120 million that I talked about, but also we just received $1 million from the city of Las Vegas to kind of get these going. I think another $800,000 from our congressional delegation, and now we also have an application for $28 million to the EDA for exactly this, for industry sector partnerships. There's 7 of them, but again, we think we have a great chance of getting that because again, we don't have these here. We've never had regional sector partnerships. So, midterm, do we have somebody, you want me to ask something here, Jake?
Yeah, do you want to tell them to put their stuff on the pink?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. So pink color is the one. I should have said that. Use the pink, please. And we have a couple here. So I'm going to ask about employment needs forecasting. Who is that? Nathan.
Yeah, so it kind of goes, both of mine go along. You know, there's a lot of, kind of thinking the midterm, there's a lot of news coming out about a potential recession. And so it's, you know, from a midterm perspective, you know, if we hire at our current growth rate and demand rate right now, you know, we don't want to be laying off workforce 3 to 6 months down the road. So from a owner, I mean, it's not a training problem. It's just, you know, what is it going to look like? I mean, nobody expected what happened with COVID and the, you know, the needs and changes with that. So, you know, trying to think about, you know, hiring the right amount and forecasting that is a difficult thing for us right now.
Thank you. I hear that with more clarity now. And yeah, I mean, who's looking forward to that, right? We just left a 2-year. None of us had ever, unless anybody was alive during the Spanish flu, I don't think so, but none of us experienced a worldwide pandemic before, and now we're talking about a recession. I mean, that really, right? But that's the reality. Despite the pandemic, the economy has these cycles, right? And so we might be nearing one now. So okay, I understand that one. Who can diversity and candidate pool with appropriate skills? Who is this? Yeah, Stephen, would you give them? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I put it in midterm, but I honestly think probably for all of us, it's across the board, short term, midterm, and long term. And I think as the education partners sit behind us, how do we drive up that diverse candidate pool? It's hugely important to Cox, obviously, and typically in technology, you see a skew that's not as diverse as we'd like. So I think it's an ongoing challenge. I won't belabor it, but I think that's something we need to think about is helping drive diverse candidates into an educational stream that is around technology and things like that. I'd also like to put a couple of stamps on some of what the other gentleman said, because we feel the exact same around certificates. So for us, developers are easy to find. They're everywhere. That's a higher paid job. It's network that we need, people that are skilled in networking and certifications around Cisco and all the other technology platforms that we use within Cox. And so those are some things that, in full transparency, I was kind of a last minute ad here, but I was glad to be a part of it. And so I reached out to all of our functional partners. If you think about Cox, you know, we've got the customer service side that you see and the care guys that are answering the phone, so call center operations. But then we've got network and engineering, and we've got construction teams, and we've got folks that you guys know that come knock on your door and install your services at your house. And so for us, we have a similar challenge to you where you can have the technical aptitude, but the customer service aptitude may be lacking. And so that's something that we'd really be looking for as well. I think about the hospitality industry in Las Vegas, and can we bring those folks that were trained up on the customer service side, like MGMs of the world, with technical aptitude and train them on the technical side that can go into homes and treat our customers very well and have a great customer experience. So that's what I've got on.
Thank you, Steve. That's a great point. And again, one of the reasons why I was really valuable at MGM, Derek, I don't think you heard me. I spent 20 years at MGM. So did Irene, by the way. Irene, wave your hand back there if any of you know Irene. She spent 20 years with me at MGM. And so I was identified early, even though I was an engineering person. As you can tell, mind talking. And so they would send me to interact with high rollers that came from Spanish-speaking countries, South America, Europe, and I also used to play tennis, and so that was a skill set that served me really well because it really exposed me to the executive, if you will, world, and it helped me move up, if you will. And it's just that willingness to be, stop talking about chillers and boilers and, play some tennis with a guy, right? A rich guy. So, but okay. So, we have Russ. Yes, please.
I just wanted to add on to what you were saying. I wholeheartedly agree with that. On the diversity front, for us, one thing I've always said is, if you're going to build a diverse product, you need a diverse team. And especially in AI, and we found this out the hard way, when you get, a person that looks a certain way trying to build what another person looks like a different way, you get a bad result. And that is from, beginning to end. And so, one thing we need to think about is as we move forward into, or I guess forward, but also backward into K through 12, this is something where the other thing, it doesn't have to just be about engineering. If I'm mostly a business major, but if I had to go back in time because engineering wasn't my brain, technology is, I would love to know that I could be a digital product manager. I didn't even know what that meant. But I can tell you right now, those are some of the most sought after jobs. If you're any part of your salt of a product manager, you can demand 180, 200K a year, easy. And that doesn't mean you got to be an astrophysicist. That just means you have to understand digital, right? The other thing is there's content, there's training, there's things that we're allowing people that are non-technical people to be able to learn to get close to artificial intelligence, which is amazing. And I think and I think you can probably agree, we're going into an area where there's software that is more user-friendly, so you don't have to just be that engineer. You can get close to it and understand. So my goal in the mid and long term would be to get into these schools and let them know that, hey, absolutely you can do anything you want, no matter how you look, but at the same time, you don't have to do engineering. You can be a product person. Here's what that means. You can do a talk like somebody, and you love media, perfect. You're a writer, great, we have content. These are things we absolutely hire for, and they're great paying jobs. And I want to make sure that we get into those schools and let people know that that's what can happen, because the worst case scenario is we're building products that, again, don't speak for everybody.
Thank you, Russ, for mentioning that, because it's giving us a chance to hand you something that illustrates the willingness of CCSD for your voice and your ideas to be heard, right? What you're being handed is an example of one industry. I can't remember which one we printed. Can somebody tell me which one are you getting? Okay, so construction, right? We partner with Nevada Builders Alliance to pick 6 occupations and put it in elementary schools, right? So to Russ's point, as early as possible, kids and their families can start to be exposed to these in-demand occupations in construction in Southern Nevada. So we want to do one with you as well, with this industry. Pick 6 to 10 occupations and make sure that it's being used, right, in Clark County School District. And so this is just an example. They're building a school right now on the old site of the Bishop Gorman School on Maryland, and it's the first career technical, if you will, type school in the nation that will have an American Job Center or a one-stop center on the site. And those are our retail stores of how you access money and those services that I was telling you about. And so that school is going to have that. And it's just, again, the first time it's happening, just to give you, again, a sense or signs that, yes, we are moving in that direction. It's going to take a while, but CCSD is working with us on that to make sure that the solutions that we'll get to, hopefully, not solutions, we'll get to opportunities today. And the solutions that we work with you on and developed over the next few weeks and months will start as early as possible. That's what this is. And it was born because this blueprint, again, talks about 100 in-demand occupations, and we highlight the top 30 in this one right here. It's called Workforce Blueprint for Kids. We can get you that as well. But and then, of course, those are industry specific, and we want to do one with you. So let me ask you, thank you, Russ. Let me ask you about this one. Who wrote Transition from Degree-Based Hiring to Skill Certification-Based Hiring? All right. You go, Craig.
That's my workforce background seeping through, sorry. No, from AWS, and we're just as guilty of it as anybody else. You know, when we post our jobs, we always look at what are the degrees, right? Almost every single one of the postings that I've been through for my own company have required some kind of degree, whether it's associate, bachelor, master's, whatever. I think as we move forward, in order to increase our pipeline and be able to hire at the volume that we need in the tech industry, we're going to have to start looking at what are the certifications that verify the skills that we need, as opposed to a full degree. And we've worked on instituting some of that ourselves. Obviously, there's AWS certifications that we're embedding in the educational system. But I think in order to meet the need for just the volume of people that are needed in this industry, we're going to have to move away from full degrees and look at the skills and how do we verify those skills so that we can make that higher. We also have a lack of work-based learning opportunities, so you know, a lot of these postings that we post require a certain amount of experience, but yet the students that are coming from this pipeline, they have no ability to get that experience in order to prove their skills. So, you know, looking at ourselves, how do we increase the opportunities for students to get that experience and prove it to us?
That's awesome, because those are, by the way, this is a common theme across the first two industries we launched. And it ends up going to, like you said, how do we create those meaningful experiences for the kids early on, right? And Gia's not here, right? Is Gia coming from CCSD? Is she on the list? Yes? Okay. Oh, CCSD is here. Okay, so we're a little bit later. But I wanted to let you know that as it's come up, again, the idea is, right, exposure is early. Can continue through middle school with visits from the industry to the middle schools. And then in high school, the actual skill acquisition process that they can take care of, along with you guys hosting them and creating really that pipeline. So by the time they graduate, they know you. And if you made their experience a good one, they actually want to go work for you. And so that's where we're headed, just so you know. And also to mention that DEI is a common thread across so far the industry sectors. And also because of that money I was telling you about that we applied for from the EDA, the $28 million comes with a strong DEI component, making sure that, and that's why the Urban Chamber, Latin Chamber, Asian Chamber, were all involved in that submission to make sure that we're reaching out to those communities and making sure that there's equal representation from all sectors of our community in this industry, right? So very good. Where did I stop? This is the one? All right. I like this one, employee retention, because this is really about you guys. Who can tell me about employee retention? Oh, good. I was about to say I'm gonna be fair. So you're not surprised. I keep track of who's not talking, and so I had noticed a certain area. I'm not gonna say which one. They wasn't talking. I was about to go there, so I'm really glad. And so you guys are not off the hook either. I've been watching you guys. So go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Ingrid with Pixar. So I've been hearing everything that you're saying right now, and it's funny. Our company has made studies for the last 5 years about like what are the best skills that translate to success and what are the best skills that translate to employee retention, right? And one of the things that we noticed, and this is not us, this is not new, the studies are out there, the employees that can stay with you longer and that are more successful are the ones that have the right soft skills for the positions that basically they're applying for. It actually translates to 65% of success. So the other 35% is actually degrees and education and job experience. For example, job experience is only like 6% that actually translate to success. So when you look into that, the way that the workforce is changing and everything after the pandemic, I think one of the things that we should do before we hire is actually find out if the position this candidate is applying for apply to the soft skills that they have, and how we do that, right? And I put on and I don't think this is an issue for midterm. It's probably long term as well. Companies are losing a lot of money with the process of hiring, and then the person is gone within a month. and why is that happening. How we can, right at the beginning, know that this person is going to be the right person for the position and it's going to stay long term. And one of the things that I added also on the papers, it was like, or the solution, I think, is adopting new technologies. He was talking about AI, right? Some people are scared about artificial intelligence, but it's a new way to actually assess these skills right up front. It's funny, that's what our company does, and I've been trying to have this conversation, so thank you for this meeting, because this is a technology that is out there for all the companies that are hiring for customer service, for the right soft skills, to facilitate this problem, right? And I think that's something that we should take in consideration, how we assess these soft skills right at the beginning, so we're hiring the right people and they stay with us for the long term, so we're not wasting money constantly on the hiring process. So just look out there. There is many ways we can actually get the right workforce. Another thing that I want to add, a lot of companies in the past, for decades, we look at like degrees or like what are the years of experience that you have. But it's proven that people that can be trained are way better. So sometimes you don't need a degree. Sometimes you don't need many years of experience if you're coachable. So if you look into that, you are going to be able to increase your workforce and build teams that are, functioning better and that are going to stay with you longer.
Thank you. I love those comments because this is a subject, again, that has come up about retention and the other groups, and it helps me illustrate for you guys the future, meaning today is our launch of this process, but I think you're getting to see it's not going to be solved next week or next month. We're going to be coming back to you after today. The next way we engage with you is going to be in working groups. So after we find at the end of the day our opportunities for collective action, we're going to get a commitment from you on, depending on how much, which one do you want to be at, because we don't want to leave you out. And we're going to, and that's what we're doing with the first two, by the way. With healthcare, we're already in that stage of working groups. Manufacturing, we're about to get there, and so you're coming behind. And so it's a process, but it's a proven process. It's a national model that really works. And so again, hopefully you're sensing that we're committed to it. And when I say we, all the partners that you've heard, CCSD, CSN, Nevada State College, UNLV, everybody else. I always forget one or two, so forgive me. Our skill acquisition partners. So next one I want to hear from is in-house developers. What do you mean by that? Oh, there you go. Woof, you guys were worrying me over here. So.
All right, I'm Brandon DeVere. I'm with Be Right Back. We're an app that connects local businesses with local consumers that are right near the area. But right now, as we go through with our development and we listen to the consumers and see how we want to change the app, we deal with time zones and trying to get it set up in that way. Right? It's not too bad at the moment, but as we look to grow, our ability to change with or how quickly, and also as we implement new ideas like coupons that will be coming out for people or rewards that the consumer can use at the local business, it's just, that's a challenge that we can see that's going to come up for us, and getting someone in place for that that's pretty much what I meant by that.
I like it. So again, and this is something that's really employer driven, and I want you to know our process is to hear you and try to guide a solution for it. When you talk about retention, there are some things we can do, but most of all, what do I mean by that? For example, there's an incentive for short-term retention that we have in our system, where if you hire somebody and they stay 30 days, they get $500. You as an employer, get $500. 60 days, another 500, 90 days, 120 days. So that's 4 months. Is that right? 4 months. And so that's a small retention incentive. But when we heard the other industry sectors talk about retention, they really went into this other space of what can we do as employers, right? Create a better culture, make them feel more heard, that they belong in our company. Because again, we've heard it, if not, it's like, oh, $2 more, and they go across the street, and oh, $1 more, and out they're going. We got to stop that somehow, right? So this is a really big subject. So thank you. I heard you. I still got two people. They're on my. What was that? 5 minutes. Okay. Next one is called adopting new technologies that facilitate hiring and help get quality employees. Ooh, I like this one. Who's this? Okay. No, please go. I want to hear about this
I
one.
think the only thing I want to add to that is the struggle. For example, like myself, I have had on the past couple of years to make people understand that the technology is there, that artificial intelligence, it doesn't have to be threatening. It can be good for your hiring process. So George is the one that invited me. He knows about that. He's been, big in soft skills and the importance of soft skills. So, but it's really hard. I have a hard time telling companies, okay, we have a solution. It's actually inexpensive. It's going to help you to get the right people up front. And then you have a lot of pushback from HR leaders that have been in the industry for 20, 30 years because they think new technologies are going to take over. It's not going to happen. It's not going to take over. It's just another add-on just to make things easier because we realize that the workforce is changing. Okay, people don't care about money anymore. They care about time with their family, with their friends. That's more important right now. That's the new currency. So if you don't find the people that actually are gonna in some way fit your culture and come to work because they really like it, love it, and they have more interest than just money, then they're just gonna go and you're gonna put the money down the drain and you're gonna spend a lot of money on the hiring process. So I've been trying to have this talk for a while, telling companies there is an easy way. Just assess them right at the beginning so you know if they're the right fit for you. And the technology is there. We just need to start adopting it, and it's just a way to make our life easier.
Thank you for saying that, because in your industry it's more true than ever, but we've heard it from the other industries as well. Again, for example, in hospitality. But I'm going to, somebody remind me, I guess, Bill, Jake, George, remind me to email them to share with this group that MC report. It's only like I think a 6-page report about everything we've been talking about today, all the factors that are compounding into this labor shortage, and it starts to give you some ideas of, again, in the long term, how these problems. And one of the points they make in that report, besides the birth rates and all those to immigration and retiring, they say the role that AI and software and automation is going to continue to play. And by the way, it's not new. We've been talking, people before the pandemic is the future of work is coming, right? Robots. And guess what? The workforce world was disrupted, by Henry Ford and the first, assembly line. And then since then, they have robots doing cars. I mean, there's more people working in the automotive industry today than there was then, right? Same with the telephone companies. Yes, there was people that used to pull cables in and out, but there's more when you add all the new things that happen in a, I'm looking for my phone, oh, here it is. When you have a cell phone now, we're not tethered to the wall, but there's so many accessories and so many other technologies involved with cellular that there's jobs that didn't exist today. My point, and the point of that report is, throughout the decades, it's been proven that technology in the net effect does not displace jobs. Does it displace some jobs? Yes. Does it create others? Yes. And the math across the ages, the decades, shows that the net effect is positive. That technology actually frees up menial tasks that are not automated, and that human labor can be used for more purposeful things. So thank you for saying that. How are we doing on time?
We have a couple minutes.
Okay.
We don't have any more posts.
No more posted. Did anybody miss an idea or have a thought? Oh, Derek. Yes.
And Hyman, I think that that goes back to, is at the end of the day, the workforce is, especially here in Nevada, is drastically scared of technology, right? The future of work is coming. We're drastically scared, but to your point, new jobs are going to be created. And now the real solution that I'm hoping our workforce partners could really start to think about, and I've been saying this for quite some time, is digital skills and the digital divide, right? Yes, the new jobs are going to be created, but does the workforce that we have currently have the skill sets, and are we able to upskill them to that upskill them from where they are right now to be able to take up these new jobs? Secondly, as we think about soft skills, I think soft skills are so important, because at the end of the day, at MGM and from conversations with Wanda, would be very much interested in taking a front desk agent, a customer service agent, and upskill them into product positions. That's what we want to do. Why? Because instead of hiring the Cornell graduate who would come, they would have to move to Las Vegas. They'll come in, they'll do the job, and they'll leave in 2 days. They'll leave even maybe 2 years, right? That's what, because that's what, because there's no loyalty. But what we found is that actually employees and staff that we upskill from front desk positions, from customer positions, from bellman positions up into product roles, they're more likely to stay. They're more loyal to the brand, and they understand the brand, they understand the hospitality experience to be able to provide higher value to our guests. So, but it all starts with the soft skills, right? So if you don't have the soft skills, you don't have the attitude to be able to go get it, to be able to get this, to be able to actually learn and want to do it, we can't help you. So I think that is something that we should all just emphasize.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. That's awesome. This is the part that I enjoy the most when the employers talk about, their role in it, right? I know that I've heard from some of your peers in the past tell me that when you look for senior software developers, sometimes they got to come from Silicon Valley and you have to pay big money to bring them. I think Rob used to tell me this, and then they leave because they didn't grow up here. They don't like this heat. They don't like, they missed, now we have football. They used to miss football, but now we have that. So anyway, those reasons I think are all reasons why this CCSD plan and after them the other skill acquisition partners and your own efforts are going to be part of the solution to not only grow our own talent, but then retain it as well. So thank you for that. How are we doing?
Long term.
All right, so they're moving me along. I'm going to move, and again, if you have a thought, whether in the orange or the red color, write it down, flag us down, and we'll come and get it because the conversation doesn't end right now for it. So long term. And I'll give you an example of what came on long term. We've been talking about it, right? This was one of the ways. How do we start early? Because a lot of times, I guarantee you this, because even though we've made great progress with CCSD so far, CCSD is the 5th largest school district in the nation. 330,000 students, over 300 schools, 40,000 employees. I mean, it's massive, right? And so it's like when you're in a cruise ship, how long does it take to turn that cruise ship? As when you're in a small boat, you can just be very nimble, right? It takes time. And so I think, but it is important to note that we're moving in that direction. And so with that being said, what other long-term problems do we have, right? And I'm not going to share with you anymore from the other. I don't want to influence you, but I'll share after. Yes, we have 2. Miguel is getting off the naughty list right now. He's, yeah, Brian's still on it. All right, Miguel.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for the long term.
All right, all right.
So my thoughts about the retention, especially, is keeping employees happy. I think there needs to be some kind of workplace reform where maybe you could have where employees work 4 days. Maybe they could have either longer hours or maybe they're paid the same for the 4 days, the 5 days. I don't know, but flexibility with schedules. More work at home opportunities. I think that could be attractive to retain your employees, because that's what I find with anyone I work with. That flexibility goes a long way. Because someone who's offering another opportunity is not going to sound as attractive, even if it pays more, if they get to stay home with their kids more or they get to relax more. If anyone's seen the movie Office Space, you know what I'm talking about. It's like it can be quite miserable. So it's kind of my thoughts on that. It was what one of my post-its was.
You have another one?
Yeah, the other one was more about future-proofing skills. This has to do with the AI, but not software AI, even though it is software, but more so the hardware version. We're talking like the actual robots that are going to be replacing workers. From an IT perspective, which is me, I kind of wonder what is going to be needed skill-wise to be able to service those robots. I think most of them are probably going to be running some kind of Linux or Unix or FreeBSD or something. Most candidates or people that I work with don't know that. So maybe we could have a focus on more on that side of the OS skills. And also, what does it take to repair tech like that? I don't know yet. We're kind of waiting on Elon Musk for that, so. But yeah, I think there should be some attention to that, like in my industry, because that's probably going to be a thing as we have more actual robots doing things, So, Those are my two post-its. So.
Thank you, Miguel. And I can vouch for what he's saying. I mean, there's some things that perplex me about this thing that people call the Great Reset or the Great Resignation. Really, it's the reestablishment of work expectations, right, by the workers today. We in our business, we're always, because employers need workers, we're always reaching out to people who were on our unemployment insurance list a few months ago. Most of those have expired, meaning people are they're no longer drawing those benefits, but they're still not engaged. And so we call them. I'll give you an example of a food server. A restaurant might call and say, you know, I might have to start shutting down 1 or 2 days a week because I don't have enough workers. I can't work them overtime. And so we call somebody who in the database was a food server and say, hey, you know, remember when before the pandemic you were making $15 plus tips? They're paying $20 plus tips. How would you like to come back? And one of their first questions is, you know, can I work remote? And we're like, not serving food, right? And so, but that's the mindset. It's like, can I work remote? And there's some valid things. The childcare that I depended on got wiped out by the pandemic. That's very real. A lot of the affordable, accessible childcare we had here in the Valley before the pandemic was wiped out, disrupted, and there's efforts again to get that going again. But that's you know, and in addition to that, this next one I want to tie into this next one about the public government pays benefits higher than the private. You know, there is this thing, right, called the pension. I mean, it's a old dinosaur. Not a lot of companies have pensions anymore. But I see people in the public sector, young people. I mean, one just left. They gave us 3-week notice, which is good. But they left a pension job. I know people that are 48 that started working at 18 at Clark County. Russ, you started there early. City of Las Vegas, Henderson. They're retiring at 48 with a full pension. And that's a good deal, right? Not for the kids that I've seen walk out the last few months, because the expectations are different. They don't, that 30-year retirement is too far. What they want today is flexibility, hybrid, a ping pong table, and a hammock. That's what they want today. At least what they told me. So who can tell me a little bit more about your public government pay benefits higher than private?
Sorry, you're hearing from me way too much today.
No, this is why you're here.
So, I mean, we on the opposite side, we've had a number of people that left that, you know, waiting for a job with, you know, CCSD or the local governments, because that long-term pay and that idea of retiring at 50, you know, is attractive. And, you know, it used to be, you know, friends that went into those jobs that when I was starting my career or they were starting their career, you know, they knew that they were taking a lower wage for that opportunity. But now, you know, with the wage pressures and that's on everybody, I feel that the government jobs are not just having those pensions, but also paying a higher wage than what we can pay as private employers to deliver services. So, you know, there's been a shift, I think, over the last 10 or 15 years. From, you know, it's not just those long-term benefits, but the short-term pay is as good or better than the private industry is paying for.
Very valid point. So our last person on the naughty list is getting off. Brian has a really good one, because I think about this in the other sectors. Part of there was this thing about, you know, we talked about it today, how you guys would like the narrative changed about, you know, what your industry is like. It's one that requires constant lifelong learning across the journey, upskilling the credentials and the certificates. The manufacturing sector told us, can you help us change the narrative? Because every kid thinks that working with us, you're working in a, you know, old dusty factory with leaky pipes and, you know, unsafe conditions. When you go to these places, they're sparkling clean. And so changing the narrative. And they said, you know, we're really good at telling the story. Again, the LVGA, who represents us across the nation, recruiting businesses, talks about the great things we have to offer. You know, there's no earthquakes, no floods, no tornadoes here, great weather, you know, snow this way, lake that way, national parks that way, California that way. And so, you know, all these great things. And now add to that hockey, football, soccer, basketball, lacrosse. And so... Yeah, no state tax. Well, we call business-friendly structure, right, in our state. But this comment, I can't wait to hear it because it's almost like everything has a flip side. And so, Brian, I'd love to hear more about the fact that Las Vegas having a ton of local distractions becomes a long-term issue.
Sure. Hi guys, my name is Brian with SmartTab and SmartTab Partners. We have a technology that puts the opening and closing of your own personal tab into the consumer's hands at any hospitality venue in town. We have about 100 venues in town. I'm excited to be here. We partner with Amazon. We work with Cox. I'd like to talk to you too, and specifically afterwards. So the challenge I have is as people develop and start to make good money in this town, there's a lot of distractions in this town that can either pull them away quickly from that money or distract them from doing good work consistently. Would you guys agree with that? We live in Las Vegas, right? We're America's playground. I find it challenging when you get into that high-level worker. I train unicorns. They got to do sales, install, support. They got to be everything. But once they get to a certain level of making some pretty good money in their eyes, it starts to go fast and quickly, faster than when they were broke. And I think it's just a lot of what we live in this town. It's a 24-hour distraction of everything on anything you can imagine, basically. And so keeping, for me, a long-term focus of those high-earning individuals that can bring even more to the table if they just stayed focused instead of going and playing around has been and is a challenge. Thank you.
Brian, such a cool angle because we heard from, they're also members of the LVGA, the presidents of the Raiders and the Knights. They have started programs with these players that, find themselves making great money, and they have specific programs to teach them about that. To say, hey, you want to have a house later after you can't play anymore? This is what you do. You just don't go out, all day. And so it's very real. I think those are professions where I can't even imagine what they make, 10 million a year, whatever that is. But they're taught that it's not forever, and they have to plan. And so I think I hear you saying that should be no different for the people making $100,000, $200,000 as well, right? Mm-hmm. Good point. Mm-hmm. I haven't heard that before here, so very good. Do we have another? Oh, here, right here. I'm sorry. Can I hear from somebody? Take Brian off the naughty list. They're all off the. There's another one right here. Who had industry expansion, entrepreneurship, and startup? This is a real cool topic. Craig.
So maybe I'm a little biased because at AWS we want people to expand and go into entrepreneurship and then come back to our platform and use it, right? But when we come to technology, IT, it's a ever expanding field, right? It's going to go into new places. If there's any one industry that we can say innovation pervades everything that we do, it's ours, right? So when we approach workforce development, how do we grow a workforce that fits our needs? It's almost a selfish topic, right? How do we meet our own needs? But I think we need to look at this overall. How do we empower that innovation so that we can grow with it? How do we empower people to start up businesses? How do we empower that entrepreneurship? I think we need to look beyond just creating a workforce for what we have existing today, but how we can empower this next generation to expand what we're doing, expand into their own things, and tie it all together.
That's really good, Craig. So again, long term, and how do you embed that into that pipeline as early as possible, right? Irene, before I forget, would you today make sure that you get with Craig and let them know of the efforts that the folks, we met Amazon or Amazon Web Services, AWS and DC, and they've been working with, state agencies. I think probably Isla knows about it, knows them too. But if we can, Irene, think what we've been missing, I could be wrong, is a local champion inside like Craig is now, because Craig is one of us. He knows all the problems and challenges. I think we're probably ready now to engage at a deeper way here locally since Craig is at Amazon. So very good. Thank you. This next one, thank you, Craig. Keep talent in Nevada, e.g. the Millennium Scholarship. Who can expand on that? Peter.
Yeah, it's kind of my own personal story in some ways. I've lived here since '91. I went to Advanced Technologies Academy, which is a pure magnet school focused around technology. And then able to take advantage of the Millennium Scholarship to then go to the College of Business at UNLV for MIS. And that for me has been very important to keeping me anchored here. I remember a lot of kids in high school that couldn't wait to leave Nevada, right? They didn't like it for whatever reason. A lot of them even took that high school for granted, and I had a bit more or better perspective because my brother went there when it first opened, and I'm like, you don't understand, like this is one of the best high schools like in the nation right now. To even consider going anywhere else to your local school just to hang out with friends or do sports was just crazy to me. But you know, I was able to take advantage of the Millennium Scholarship and help really put myself through UNLV, and you know that's been important to me. And then you know, even in my early 20s, you look at other places. Oh, San Diego, great weather. You know, it's more expensive. But now I've been here so long, I have some roots and some definitely attachment. I can appreciate what the city is and what it has to offer. I think that's important for this workforce. You know, hearing people talk about retention or turnover or people going to the next shiny thing, and you know, to your point as well, right? If you kind of grow people from within, not only in your organization but also in this community, I think they're more likely to stay in for the long-term benefits instead of getting distracted by the next shiny thing, right? The next big thing of whatever that company may be. So having a core amount of people within the community that you can then tap within your workforce, and then you know, find ways to groom them, teach them, you know, upskill them, whatever it is, to have more and more opportunity. I think that's really important to have a stable workforce.
That's great, Peter. And so you're a local success story. So is Russ, because you know you were born and raised here. You came at an early age.
Yeah.
I came at 21, long time ago. I'm originally from Peru, and in a few hours I'll be in a plane headed to Peru after 35 years. I just gave you my age. How you did math, and boom, there you are. But yeah. So, but again, I also have fallen in love here. Obviously, I'm here. This is my home now. Raised two kids. Did my part also in what you're talking about. In the healthcare, we kept hearing we gotta home raise or grow our own, you know, doctors and keep them. And so I have a daughter who graduated the doctorate in physical therapy program at UNLV 2 years ago now, and she's here. And so I asked them, you guys better give me some credit because I'm helping homegrown that healthcare workforce. But it is, I think, about intentionality and being purposeful, because I was afraid she was going to stay in Thousand Oaks, California, which is where she went for her bachelor. If you haven't been there, I mean, I thought she's not coming back. Why did I let her go there? But thank God she got into UNLV, and I said, well, you could live at home, right, instead of having to go get debt. And so that was our goal: graduate debt-free, live at home. And so now she's killing it here, happy, working with athletes all day. She sends me pictures of these, 7-foot basketball players. I mean, their feet are like that, and she's working on them. So anyway, so I hear you loud and clear. How are we doing on time, guys? Okay. We also want to leave a little time. Let me know when you have clarity on all of these. Do we have any more that we need clarity on this or not yet?
I think we have some readings. I think we're good.
Okay. I want to hear about pipeline, because this is oh, it's Derek. Okay.
Thank you. So as we just talk about short-term, mid-term, long-term needs, immediately at MGM in our technology, digital, data, and digital vertical, we have about 250 open roles. More so tier 1 support, tier 2 support, and like everybody else, engineers and developers. Midterm, we have about 100 upcoming open roles in the next 3 months. Long term, we have about 500 open roles in this same space. And the thought here is we have new leadership on the technology side, and as the Valley thinks of MGM as a hospitality company, we have this TDD vertical that's a technology company within a hospitality company. And as we think of long-term workforce needs, I think there has to be a lot of work done around on-ramps for non-traditional talent. And when I say non-traditional talent, I mean people, when it comes to tech, people with disabilities, people from the Black and Brown community, people from seniors, right? On-ramps specifically from hospitality-based jobs directly into tech. And I don't, I don't think we have that in the workforce system or in the skill system right now. Or if we do have it, I don't think we have enough of it. That we have to be very intentional about that. Hey, we want to get people who have some form of disability into tech jobs, and this is what this program is specifically built for. Hey, we want to get specifically Black and brown bodies into tech jobs. This is what this program is specifically built for. And we don't only want to do it at the college level, but this is something that needs to be done at the high school level, at the middle school level, and at the elementary school level.
Derek, I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm going to talk a little bit about Wanda, my friend who you work with. MGM is really serious about this tapping into. What do I mean by that? We're 2 months from now going to open a brand new, we call it an Employee MV Youth Hub, but think about it as a workforce center focused for young kids, school-age kids, and it's going to open at the West Charleston Library, very close to Bonanza High School. And so again, working with CCSD, working with the Library District, working with MGM, MGM has put together a program where they're identifying young people to come work at MGM while they're still in school.
Yeah.
And of course, a few things: make some money, which a lot of families need. But here's the cool thing: earn credits towards their high school diploma. That's pretty cool, right? And so they figured out ways and identified positions that the work experience will count towards the credit CCSD gives them for a certificate. Lifeguard, I can't remember the other positions, but lifeguard tied into physical education, something else to here. And so they're really thinking out of the box, which is a great example for us. And that's why we say we're in, because we want to, again, align our resources towards that. So as employers, I think this pipeline issue, again, it just keeps pointing back to CCSD, right? But know that the superintendent who's on the Workforce Connections Board, on the LVGA board, and his team, who's represented here today, have been nothing but willing to help us start to plant these new things. And so at that program in Bonanza and other high schools, we're already going to be doing that, tapping into that early and providing. And by the way, let me say this other thing. We have shifted, because there is not a whole bucket of ready and willing workers to come and fill these positions. We are focusing really heavily on what traditionally are called alternate labor pools. What does that mean? It means that in the good economies, they don't compete that well in the labor force because other people get the jobs first, and that's people with disabilities. The disadvantaged, disproportionately represented, communities in the Black and brown, disconnected kids, disengaged kids, returning vets that come with lots of great skills, but they also have challenges. Help me, who else? The reentry population. So think about the penal system and all these people that are coming out that need and want a second chance. They pay their debt. So we're really focusing on that right now, because again, unless I'm missing it, there's not like another big group of people out there saying, hey, we're ready to go to work. So thank you.
Yeah, and Jaime, as you bring that up, I want to add, I know we have a summer program, internship program going on this summer, and I think it's about a cohort of 10 students, but they're all from at the college level. And a lot of the work that they're going to be doing is around payments, right? Not only existing payment methods on Android and mobile, but also emerging payment methods like cryptocurrency. And I think that's another area, and this is a program that we're looking to expand into high schools as well. But just thinking about just emerging platforms and emerging payment methods, and as we think about long-term needs, I think that's something that we need to, that as a workforce, we need to start to think about, right? A lot of my work today is around metaversal experiences, NFTs, blockchain-based gaming, and in those spaces, in those spaces, there's actually there's no talent, right? And these are jobs that are going for 400,000, 500,000 because it's so new, and they're not, there's just not enough skill sets to even train people to get there. So I think as we think about long term and having the skills acquisition partners in the room, those are areas we need to start to build curriculum around.
That's great that you mentioned that. So hopefully you guys caught that. I don't see, Jamie must have left. Is Albert around? So would you guys let them know when they come back? Jamie and Albert from UNLV, they meet here for crypto a lot. I know I don't know if it's every week or every month, they have that a group of entrepreneurs and people that are in that burgeoning new industry of crypto. I know the meetings happen here. That's all I know. So I was looking for Jamie to weigh in, but maybe when she comes back, let's have her come back. And then one thing I forgot to mention about UNLV, MGM, and how they're tapping into this early talent pipeline and helping sweeten the deal, if you will, is you probably all heard they made a deal with Enchi a while back. So these kids that I talk about that are in MGM now, making some money, earning some high school credit towards the diploma, if they stay long enough at MGM, they qualify for free college because of the Enchi and the deal that whatnot. So again, these are all things that I think employers are going to have to look at really seriously to make themselves an attractive option and retain that talent. So, it almost sounds like I still work there. 20 years I've been gone. So, how we doing?
We have time.
Okay. Yep. Craig.
Just a quick point. I pulled some information from MZ the other day as I was trying to work with some employers in California. But I think one thing in the IT industry overall that we need to consider is when we pull data and we look at job openings and that stuff, that the data can be very skewed because the IT industry spans so many other industries, right? So you got hospitals, they might show up as healthcare workers, but they're in industry. They might show up as banking, but they're fintech, right? So I think that in the long term, if there was a way that we could find to refine that data acquisition for our workforce needs and what the future of our industry looks like, it's a tough thing to do to get it right.
Absolutely. Yes. Can you guys help them with the? Just to let you know that what they're bringing you, I think, is the lunches. I don't want people. Why are they putting stuff on front of me? It's their lunches. Yeah, they're coming with your lunches, so make sure it's the right what you ordered, and then pretty soon, at 12:30 we're scheduled to start our working lunch. So, Brian, back to you.
Just to kind of go back to, you guys mentioned maybe like a revitalization of like the RFP process and what that would look like. And Derek, not to kind of throw you on the spot, but my fiance works for MGM. She has for 10 years. You guys made a change with regards to some portion of the business recently in payments, and unfortunately there was nobody to train them at all. Now that might be a staffing issue internally, but I think it's more of a vendor issue, because the way that our company operates is we sell technology, but we're also there to help you implement and use that technology. So I think a big part of the process for these larger corporations is that they oftentimes just go with the big name and fail to see who's really the best in the industry, right? And so, the challenge is like that RFP process. Some of the smaller companies that might be a better fit have a better understanding of the needs for the direct workforce that they're going in to train and are just going to have a better experience overall, get left out of that process because either they're too small or the bigger companies have too much money to throw at those RFPs. Make sense?
Yep. Thank you, Brian. You guys catch that? So it looks like we have lots of good stuff for the staff to get on while we do our working lunch. But before, let me ask you again, and even if you don't do today, if you get home and say, man, I should have given it this, just send it to us. We'll add it to this equation because this is not going to be solved today. We're merely setting the foundation for what we want to build with you over the next months, maybe even years, right, to solve these problems. So with that said, we have plenty of stickies to start to identify common themes. You've heard your peers bring stuff up. Is there a burning issue that you want to bring up now? Because when we come back, we're going to start talking about solutions or potential opportunities for collective action for these themes that we're going to discover. But before that, this is a chance to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I was hoping that we would talk about this, and I haven't heard it yet. Any takers on that? There's been a lot of great conversation. No? I haven't seen much missing. Derek, over there.
The last thing I'll say is I think as we're all technology leaders in the room, I think a conversation that I haven't quite heard enough of is how do we start to leverage technology and emerging tech from a workforce perspective for workers, right? I think we think about it for our businesses. We think about it to build our businesses, to grow our businesses. But how do we think about that to actually help workers, to actually augment and upskill and solve the problems that we're talking about, or that we're talking about here? So just something food for thought.
I would like that on the board. Can you guys capture that? How do we use technology as actually a piece of workforce development? In other words, say, hey, we're developing the workforce. Are they tech savvy? Can they, right? Do they understand the tech? Used to be that tech meant in an office you need to operate a fax machine, answer a phone. Today it means, I'm sorry, I'm one of those people. Still, I think I'm okay, but when I go to my kids for something, that face they give you like, really? You don't know how to do this? I'm like, no, I don't know how to, twit or whatever they call it, TikTok, or I don't know how. And so, but they give you that look like, really? Anyway, it makes you feel really inadequate. But I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So we captured that. So I'm going to do, let's start with you, Derek. I'm going to start early a little bit of the formal introductions. Just tell me again your name, who you're with, and what you do for the company.
Okay. My name is Derek Jumpy. I'm with MGM, and I'm a strategy senior manager innovation. I'm in digital ventures and innovation. Essentially, my role is exploring emerging technologies for the organization. So I like to say I live in 2035 most of the time. And yeah, that's what I do. Oh, but fun fact is, in my previous role, I did work for the Culinary Academy of Las Vegas, and I was head of digital transformation and innovation. So I am very passionate about emerging tech and workforce development in the state.
That's cool. Thank you for being here, Derek. Russ.
Russ Logan, AI Media Lab. I'm a managing partner and co-founder. Basically, it's an umbrella, or it's a company that we spun out of AI Foundation, which was a $30 million venture that was seed funded by Founders Fund and Peter Thiel. So my job is business development, strategy, emerging tech, and taking AI and doing cool things with it in the content media space.
Awesome. Welcome, Russ. Nathan.
Nathan Whittaker, CEO and founder of Stimulus Technologies. I started Stimulus Tech in 1995 here in Las Vegas. I was a high school student here and went to UNLV, got a bachelor's and master's degree in computer science. We are a IT services company, also provide internet, voice over IP service. We're in 4 different states, but our headquarters is here in Southern Nevada.
So high school, it's either Western, Chaparral, Rancho.
No, I was
Bonanza, yeah. Which one?
Valley, and then
Valley,
graduated
yeah.
from Silverado.
Yeah,
So.
Silverado?
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
I did.
For real? Wow. Silverado's like 2 blocks from my house. That's crazy. I live right there on Pebble. Okay. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Jean-Claude. I'm the founder and CEO at Be Right Back app. It's an app that we have launched in Vegas, a social marketing app to be able to connect local businesses with nearby customers post-COVID-19. Been in Vegas going about 5 years now.
You get the prize for the coolest accent, I guess, right? Because all of us sound bland now that you talk, we all sound. Welcome.
Right.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Brandon.
I'm Brandon Devere. I'm with Jean-Claude, and I'm from a little town in Washington State of about 2,000 people. So that's kind of why this is kind of a passion for me as well, because of us, as big as Vegas seems, it's super small and connected, and kind of looking like rooting for the small guy when it comes to local businesses trying to compete with big monster. I know there's some corporations in here, but I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Trying to do that. So that's kind of what we got going on.
And there's room in the sea for every size of fish and mammal, right? So I think I was just in Spokane with Irene, I think 2 weeks ago. And Spokane, it's really interesting because Spokane is smaller than us, but people don't know each other. Here in this town, for whatever reason, I don't know how to explain it, it happens all the time. We have 2 million people, but you find those connections very quickly. Like, again, now, Derek, knows Wanda, who I know, 20 years. How does that happen, right? It's like really weird here. So, Brian.
Hi, guys. My name is Brian Tipos with SmartTab and SmartTab Partners. I've been in payments and point of sale for 18 years. And I found SmartTab about 10 years ago on my journey after I'd pretty much seen everything else. We're for high-paced, high-volume, high-velocity restaurants, bars, and nightclubs. And we have a consumer app that we launched during the pandemic that, again, you can apps and open and close your own tab from your phone.
Thank you for being here.
My name's Miguel Johnson. I'm an entrepreneur. I own a few IT companies, nationwide, some worldwide clients. I mostly focus on cybersecurity, MSP, IT MSP work, and I am from the Bay Area. I opened Tier 4 IT a couple years ago here, so I'm new here, Las Vegas, but looking to expand more here and develop more of a MSP footprint here in Las Vegas. And I don't know.
That's good enough,
I'm
Miguel.
mostly self-taught IT. I had I have some old certs from 2000, but yeah, I just someone that continuously educates themselves, and I'm proud to be an IT professional, and yeah, I love it here. It's a nice area. So
Thank you for being here. Ingrid.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ingrid Morales with Pixar. It's funny, originally I used to be a computer engineer. I don't do it anymore. Now I do business development, and our company, so you know a little bit about us, we basically created a tool that helps organizations with their hiring process using artificial intelligence. So we kind of mix the video interviewing, all automated, with a behavioral assessment that assess for soft skills. We're nationwide, of course, but our goal for the year is to help as many companies as we can here in Las Vegas. So, and my accent is Cuban. Yes, I'm Cuban.
You have a great accent too.
Thank
Got
you.
competition.
Thank you.
This is my buddy Steve from the LVGA.
Yeah, so I'm Steve Westerman with Cox Communications. I lead our commercial sales organization, Cox Business. I'm a relatively new transplant to Vegas myself. I haven't been here summer yet. We moved here in November, so looking forward to July and August. But we do love it here. Cox has a wonderful footprint here. There's a ton of great customers around this table and the one behind us for sure. So I'll just leave you with thank you for your business.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, thank you for being here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Craig Von Collenberg. I'm with Amazon Web Services. I know nobody's familiar with that, right?
No.
No. I'm with Amazon Web Services Education to Workforce team. My background is not IT. I'm actually a journeyman sheet metal worker, but worked in the workforce development field for years. Know all these folks very well.
All of us.
Yeah, and I graduated from high school here as well, Bonanza, back in '92. So.
Lots of Bonanza people. And last and not least, now, Irene, you were telling me Craig has broken the record for most jobs in like less time, right? Because he's like hot. He's a hot commodity. Bam, bam, bam. All right, Peter. By the way, let's please open your lunches, because our lunch sponsor for today is Peter from Intelligent Technical Solutions. So a big hand for them. Thank you for lunch. So Peter, tell us not just a little bit more, since you're buying us lunch. Take a couple minutes more and tell us about your company.
Sure. Peter Swarovski, I'm the Director of Operations at Intelligent Technical Solutions. We're a managed service provider. We provide, IT services, project work, voice over IP systems, some internet solutions, cybersecurity.
Can you speak up a little bit more?
Yes, and we're in maybe 6 or 7 cities right now. We're growing quite a bit through mergers and acquisitions. But yeah, we provide IT services for small to medium-sized businesses, kind of 25 to 100 users, kind of our sweet spot. And anything else?
No, that's good. I'm grateful that you said mergers and acquisitions, because sometimes when you guys talk, all of you all say M&A and org dev this, and you guys just speak another language. So
yeah, IT is very acronym.
Yeah. Yes.
Next to you to follow our conversation.
I know what an IP address is now, but you guys have too much of it. So thank you, Peter. Thank you for being here, your voice, and treating us to lunch. So with that, I'm going to also, because of the number of guests we have, I'm going to introduce them myself. I'm not going to give them the mic, but I'm going to make sure that I oh, okay. So I'm going to start on this end. Can you guys still hear me? Daniel, Mike, can you hear me? Okay. So representing the office of Congresswoman Susie Lee, who was behind, again, this the $800,000 that I told you to help us with sector partnerships. She's made sure that she's, again, funding this effort, helping bring federal money to Nevada, which is, I think you all know, we don't get our share. We contribute enough, but we don't get back our share, so we're working on that. But she also introduced legislation at the federal level within this WIO. I was telling you about the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act to have more permanent funding for these sector partnerships, not just one at a time, but to keep these going. So do you want me to switch? Oh, okay. Thank you. So anyway, Jerry, this is Jerry Schroeder. And yes, please. And then from GOIN, the Governor's Office of Workforce Innovation, we have the Executive Director, Isla Young. Thank you, Isla. From the Governor's Office of Economic Development, we have Stacy Boswick. This is one of our guys, Chris Shaw. He's busy over there doing the mic. So, hey, make sure. Two from the LVGEA, we have Bill Breckenhart and Caroline. You have to help me. Okay, so part of the economic development team or part of the skill acquisition? UNLV, career service. I welcome her, please. So workforce. We were having breakfast, I remember. She said, hey, I'm going to go be a legislator. And, you know, I didn't know what to make because, we were making good money. Served us as Nevadans up there in the legislature. Green from Connect. No information for you either, so. This, I need to come to you and hear from you about you. That's, again, as you can see, government, we can be employers too, not just bureaucrats. We can be. Thank you for being here. We have Mike, Daniel, they're taking guys, so make sure you're when they're. Oh, good friend, representing again the Vegas Chamber of Commerce. You've heard that they're our partner in many things. Representing, let's give her a hand. People, so I have people from welcomed us. Robert I haven't met, and Albert I have met, but I don't see him now either. So they're from this economic, and they're hosting us today. Elizabeth, you're part of the same team over there? Yes, economic development. Yep. Part of Ryan's team. Awesome. Good. With a property. Yep. Monte Carlo. Oh, okay. I was. The Monte Carlo on, the roof, the caught on fire, the sign, all that stuff, that was pretty ugly. But thank you. Okay, so from another one of our skill partners here, she worked with projects. Please welcome Duana Malone from Tech. I'm going to get on my. We're not ballpark. Live it from every from As I said before, my peer Steve from the LVGEA, good friend for many years, I still remember Frank when we opened our first comprehensive one-stop here in town. He gave the opening speech and he said, Jaime, I know this place is going to go really good because I had to pay. So welcome Frank Woodback from CSN. And finally, last but not least, Tom Nicholas. Please give him a hand. Okay, so what I want to do next is, can I have the next slide? Malik, are you driving? Okay, so I'm being told that if you bring them their drinks, so if you want, I guess you either tell one of us for you, but the drinks are over there. There's drinks and chips. If somebody near you, let them. So I guess, but Malik is here if you need some help. Thing I want to tell you is I'm going to need some help here. Let me see if I can. Sonia. Oh, she's over there. I'm sorry? No, do one. Just wait till they're all back. I think. I'll wait till. Not yet. Yeah. No worries. Okay, thank you. Okay. So, just a second. I want to make sure you leave today. Before you leave, two important things. You have to leave with this Commemorative Silver Bar, which is really, really cool. It's courtesy of a manufacturer from our Manufacturing Industry Sector Council. We have a company minting, and if you haven't been there, giving tours, but you got to be ready to see some heavy protection because they have gold and silver laying around. So hopefully you feel comfortable around guns because they guard the place pretty well. But they do stuff, Golden Knights, they make commemorative coins. They actually make coins for countries. So they don't, the U.S. Mint does it for us here, but they made that. So they're a really cool silver bar, custom bar that we created. Can I have the next? So when you see it, you'll see that it has several polishes. I'm not the expert, but Tom explained it to other mirror polish, and you can see it colors here. And again, when you see it, you'll appreciate it. It's really cool finish, beautiful piece, and it commemorates an industry, first of its kind, regional industry had, and that they were launched in 2022. You've heard this is the third one. We have 4 more to launch before December. Meaning industries, we've done healthcare, we've done manufacturing, now tech, the creative industry. So those are coming. When everybody comes back, we'll make sure you get a commemorative coin. Next slide, please, Chris. Okay, so let me tell you what we're going to do next. In the next 90 minutes, we're going to start, our staff is going to come back. Our staff is going to come back and with the common themes that we're going to have in each one of these categories, and then we're going to start to do the same, interact with you. Action. So there was a comment about crypto. So I did my best to say that you are really focusing and gathering and convening an early crypto sector here. And so would you tell Derek a little bit more about it? With mics, record this. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Hey, Malik, you
So, an interest that we've been hearing a lot of from both the business sector, but then also from the tech sector, is how do businesses incorporate or anticipate bringing crypto, bringing NFTs into their business? What does that look like? What kind of tech do they need to have? But then we've really been hearing also that from companies that say, yeah, this is a really cool idea. I want to put out, let's say, an NFT that then you come in and you get a free cupcake or whatever, right? Sorry, so NFT stands for non-fungible token, which this is just a coin, a digital coin that represents a currency value to whoever you're exchanging it to. It can be an actual, just a graphic, but it could also lead to some other kind of service or something else you can transact. So, much like cryptocurrency, you're taking a digital form of payment in exchange for whatever. So if you're a business and you want to bring it on board, what does that even look like? How do you train your staff is the next question, right? We've had a few businesses that say, oh, I'd love to do just what we talked about. We'll put out this collectible NFT, our customers will buy it, then they'll be the number one customer, this gets them discounts or this gets them a free whatever. But then you have to train your staff how to do it. And then there's a point of sale system for your business that has to interact with actually taking this kind of currency. And those are big questions that make it really daunting. And so overall, what we found out is in this blockchain, cryptocurrency, NFT space, businesses or business owners that might be interested instead shy away and just say, no, not yet. So our intention with the blockchain meetups that we've been having here is to put an educational spin on it. And that's why we actually just had a conversation with Josh, because we've decided to incorporate that into the Tech Alley events that are happening downtown. And we'll have a breakout session, a meetup session of our own, where the entire focus will be small business owners or business owners in town, and developers and technologists who can have this kind of conversation to really define for people, how do you do it, what is it, and how can it be part of your business if it even should be.
That's great. Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, hang on. We'll go to Josh in just a second. I want to make sure, help you, there's a blockchain meetup happening here. How often, Jamie?
Well, we just switched it, so now we're going to be every third Saturday as part of the Tech Alley event.
Every third Saturday as part of the Tech Alley event. So let's hear a little bit about the Tech Alley events from Josh.
Yeah, no, it's good to see everybody. I just want to share a couple things and ideas. Well, first of all, Tech Alley, it brings together the tech and startup community every third Saturday in the Arts District.
Sorry, they just reminded me it's a little hard to hear. If we can just speak a little bit loud.
Can I come in over here?
Yeah.
I love this. I love to stand in the center. So yeah, Tech Alley is it's a community event. We're a nonprofit. It brings the tech and startup community together for a couple of reasons. One, workforce development. I was a CIO for 14 years, and I understand 100% what it's like to find how hard it is to find technical talent. I grew up here, Clark High School, 91. I know all you Bonanza folks. But I created it for a couple of reasons. One, so we have a tech and startup scene. It's inclusive, it's free, and it's consistent every third Saturday at the Arts District. It's a meetup of meetups. We host meetups all throughout the Las Vegas Valley that go there. But a big part of it is blockchain, and it is crypto, and it is the metaverse. And these are people within the community that just want to share that information. So we're glad that Vegas NFT is going to be starting there in June. This month we have Metaverse Minds, which is run by Jamie Collier, as well as Blockchain, which is run by James Roop. And they'll go into a really good detail of what blockchain works, why an NFT might work for a business, because really it is, you're leveraging the blockchain, you're an encrypted ledger, right? And how can you put that much more than just currency and art, but identification, ID, right? Gaming, tracking of records, and so on. I do want to say something interesting, and Derek, you might appreciate this. One thing that we did at Tech Alley is we started saying we wanted to get people interested. They know what blockchain is, but they don't know how to get interested in it. And so all of our little promos which were just images that we created. We said, screw it, let's just mint them as NFTs, and every speaker gets an NFT. And you know what? They get a wallet. Now they're getting introduced into blockchain. Sanal runs this thing called National Center for Women in Information Technology. This Tech Alley, he's doing his awards event. He's recognizing over 100 young women in middle school and high school for their contributions into technology, right? He's given each one an NFT for using the same model to introduce them to blockchain. And I would say companies need to start thinking about stuff like that. I think MGM would be a perfect thing. Hey, everybody, here's a paper wallet. Here's this cool NFT we're going to give you. And here's a video of instructions on how you can do it. And guess what? Once you come up with some cool ideas, because it's the Wild West, at this point, right?
Just let me just add, so
We need you to speak in the microphone.
Yeah.
We need to record it.
because this is really important because. Hey everyone, Sanel. Sanel Bach, Clark County School District. I'm filling in for Gia, and it's probably better that I'm here, not her. Because I do most of the IT stuff, or media stuff, all that stuff. So what Josh said, I just want to add to it because I feel like it's really important, the collaboration with Tech Alley, what they're doing with blockchain and NFT. The reason why is not only my day job that I get paid through Clark County School District, but on my other hat, I run a nonprofit. So the Nevada affiliate for NCWIT, National Center for Women in Information Technology, try to get more diversity in tech. And first of all, MGM Resorts is a sponsor of our awards event this Saturday. So quick plug, Saturday, our awards event at Tech Alley. We already have about 350 people coming to the awards event. But sorry, I have so much to say after hearing all businesses. What Josh had mentioned, the NFT, it's my understanding we're going to be the first awards platform to actually issue NFTs as part of our award. So each of our female students that are interested in technology and STEM careers are going to get an NFT. They're going to get QR codes that will actually show them how to create a digital wallet, how to find out. And each NFT is actually the same image for their award category, but within the code is their name, their year, all the meta tags, all that fun stuff. And it's really cool because we're the first ones to really introduce young people, middle schoolers, high schoolers, to cryptocurrency, digital. They hear about NFTs. They hear about all this other stuff. So that's really cool that we're the first, technically. I haven't verified it, but I think we are leading edge on that type of stuff. So it's really cool collaborating with Tech Alley and, the governor's office and a number of partners here. So I just want to mention that because that is pretty cool. That Nevada's doing that we're giving a digital award as an NFT. I don't know. I think it's cool to all these young women to get them excited about it, but hopefully you all do so as well.
Hey, I know I got the microphone for a second, so I'm going to take this as an opportunity. I'm an employer too. I run a software development firm that I created because I was having a hard time finding technology talent. Right. Anyway, I'm a big advocate of you're all entrepreneurs, you're all strategists. Coming up with ideas and leveraging people like Jaime and Workforce Connections, CCSD, UNLV, CSN, Go and others to find how they can help you achieve your goals. I'm probably going to go on a tangent, but I'd love to talk through some ideas, maybe if there's time through here, about how to really sort of apply new ideas and so on to solve some of these problems and go beyond just, hey, I got an issue, how are you going to solve it for me, and turn it into, I got an issue and I got an idea to solve it, how can you help me solve this? And give me the tool set. So thank you.
Thank you, Josh. So Josh just gave you a glimpse of this model, how it goes into solution focus next, right? So we have talked about some challenges. Later, the rest of the day, we're going to really clarify what are those opportunities that we can then switch to that solution mode that Josh was talking about through work groups. And so I appreciate that you're committed to the model. Again, since we're being funded for it, we got to follow this model, which is what you see, employers' voices, listening mode. They've been very disciplined. Thank you, all of them. They're trying really hard not to say too much because your voice right now is what we want to hear. And they are part of the solution, right? These are the people that are going to help us implement what you need as early as CCSD and onwards after that. So, yes, Miguel.
Quick question. I'm hearing what they said, but what I don't realize is how do you, maybe this is something you want to write down to go over later, but how do you actually implement NFT or cryptocurrency into the average business in a way that's relevant or solves anything or does anything. So that's why I'm just wondering.
Me
you know?
either. Join the club. I don't. I have no idea. I called Jamie, but I gotta be careful that that we don't go off too far into crypto today. But Jamie, please, I saw you get up.
I just want to say one quick thing that's important. So every third Saturday at these Tech Alley events, Josh has given our time slot to start at 2:45. So from 2:45 to 4 o'clock, this particular session will be very accessible to everyone, no matter what kind of knowledge you have in this space. We're starting from the beginning, and these are the practical questions that we want to address in these sessions, because these are the real questions business owners have, right? Like, is this even relevant to me? If it is, to what degree? How would I bring it on, and why, and all of those things. So I just really wanted to bring home that point, that it's in a very accessible education sessions, that's our intention, is to increase the knowledge and familiarity with everybody. So
get plugged in. That's what I said. Jamie taught me about it, and I still haven't made one because I think I want to come a little bit more educated. I'm going to go find somewhere the dummies version, something, crypto for dummies, and come a little bit more prepared, because the concept goes over me like this, right? Because
I'm aware of it. I trade it.
Oh, you trade it? Oh.
I know what it is.
And you're still confused?
I don't know.
I have no hope for me. No hope for me then. Oh my God. Yeah, it's a fascinating, I think, subject that is. I'm grateful that Jamie and her team are moving it, and so. Okay, so let's see. Let me see what time it is. I see that the teams. Yep, 1 minute till 1. So it's time for us to shift into the second phase of this model, which is clearly identifying the opportunities we have to work together with you on collective action. And again, why? Because there's millions of dollars, right, and tons of resources to be applied to these solutions. Again, as early as CCSD, but through CSN, through Nevada State College, UNLV, University of Phoenix, all the different post-secondary skill acquisition partners here in the room. So that's our next step. So I see here, maybe should I wait for you, Jake? You want to drive this second part? Sure. Give me 30 seconds. Okay. So for 30 seconds, and then I'm going to pass it on to Jake so he can kind of tell you how they thread these common themes through all the papers that we collected. I'll start to read them to you. It seems like under upskilling / retention / work-based learning, that seems like a theme, and there are several reasons why it became a theme. We want to build skill sets of existing workers. In our world, we call that incumbent worker training. There's money for that. On-the-job learning, which I've told you calls on-the-job training in our world. We fund that. Work-based learning, same thing. Keeping employees. What do they want, and how do we get it for them, right? That's what we talked about, how we can do some, but a lot of that is on you as employers. And then keeping our talent that we grow here in Nevada. So that's seems to be one category. Then we have another one here called specific certifications or skill sets. So we need to inform not just the future workforce, but probably the community as a whole, that this industry is based on certifications that keep evolving, that are lifelong learning, retaining certifications, so encouragement to...
And the cost of the certifications.
Oh, so encourage them, and then find a way to cover the cost, which is some of the points that came here. Skill-based / certificate-based hiring, so moving away from degrees. We heard that today. The digital skills divide, heard it several times. Now I know what I saw. When I saw your digital skills, it's almost like, what you see those artists on the walls, tagging. The S like that, it looked like a really cool off the Snoop Dogg album or something, That's what I saw. Customer service, which we've heard about, high emotional intelligence, great, interaction with employees, and certificate / degree alignment. And Jake, take over the last category.
Sure. So last category we talked about was expanding pipelines. Of course, we talked about non-traditional or alternative talent pools. Jaime talked about, tapping into the ex-offenders, persons with disabilities, people that haven't traditionally participated in the workforce, and how we're going to have to skill them up if we're going to just meet the sheer number of people that we need to get into the workforce, not only in tech, but in any industry. Again, persons with disabilities, and then also how do we diversify the workforce, and how do we just expand the pipeline in general so that, again, we have large numbers of openings for companies, and how do we take people that don't have the skill sets today and skill them up so that they can help fill some of those gaps.
So, and I can sense the names are a little different, but the common core or the spirit of the challenge, I think, is still the same with the other sectors, meaning, this pipeline that starts in the K through 12 and goes beyond it into post-secondary is there with DEI built into it, with alternative pools built into it. That was really something that came out of the other ones. Here I see again that this, it's not about just traditional degrees, but also shorter term certifications and skill acquisition, and really unique again to this digital software, crypto, all these things that make this particular industry so unique. And then finally, this thing about really having the employer at the center of what we need to upskill existing workers, really put together better long-term retention strategies and cultures, and then also cultivating work-based learning that where the public workforce development system can carry some of that lift in the sense of cost. So that frames it pretty well. So Jake, I'll take it to the next step. I guess you're going to go to the papers again, right?
Sure. So we're going to follow a somewhat similar exercise that we did this morning. We're going to use our Post-it notes, except we're going to change the focus a little bit. Instead of naming some of your challenges, we want you to actually share some of your ideas with us for some of what those solutions might be to your challenges. Because what we're going to do from here, I think Jaime mentioned, this is a long-term strategy that we're trying to build with our sector partnerships. And so we're going to follow up. We're going to have smaller work groups that are focused on each of these three categories, or depending on how the conversation goes this afternoon, we may end up combining a couple, going down to two categories, or going down to one specific category. But what we're really looking for is ideas that you can give to us, the workforce system, and all of those skill acquisition partners that you met over the lunch break, because we're going to get together, we're going to start collaborating and brainstorming, and we want to identify 2 or 3 solid initiatives that we can walk out of this room with, that we can start to implement immediately. And then as we move forward, as we go into the work groups, we want to make sure that we are kind of building on what we're doing. So again, more solution focused. If you have an idea that your company is doing right now that you think is scalable or replicable, we would love to hear it to see if the other partners are interested in kind of tagging on to what you're already doing. If you have an idea that you haven't done yet, but you think is a great idea and you just don't have the resources, or you don't have the capacity on your team to really do that, that's again what the skill acquisition partners and what the workforce partners are for. We would love to hear about that. But anything that you can share with us that can help us start building some of these initiatives on your behalf. And so what we're going to do, go ahead.
Volume level, do you guys hear him okay? Okay, so you're good on volume. And then keep in mind again that this is an opportunity where if you need information or you have a question for one of the skill acquisition partners, this is the place where you can start. You're encouraged to engage them. They're free now to, participate more actively, again, based on your need, right? So the employers say, hey, CCSD, do you have something like that? He will come up and share with you. And again, their role becomes more and more important as this industry partners, sector partnership moves along, right? Because again, the next steps are going to be all about solution work groups, and they play a huge role there. So Jake?
So we're just going to start again, take a color, maybe to start with the orange again. We want your ideas on this theme that we came up with, the upskilling, retention, and work-based learning. So again, write something down, and then as we start collecting the Post-its, we're going to put you on the spot and give you the microphone and let you share more of your thoughts. And then we're going to take notes and just really start with, what are some ideas that you have that can help us with your upskilling, retention, and work-based learning needs?
And I'll give you examples of what came up in the other meetings. Again, is, work-based learning. Maybe an employer wants to formalize a training program in their organization. I mean, those could be apprenticeships. It could be other things, but that's, work-based learning. Retention, you've heard about today, right? Is it in financial incentives? Is it cultural changes? Is there, hammocks? I don't know what they are. And of course, upskilling. So those are some examples, again, without trying to influence you, but we'd love to hear your ideas of things that are already working or maybe you can't afford. That's what we're here for. So. How?
Don't be afraid to use your mom's voice. Okay? Sorry, we don't have
The PA.
PA, but use your mother's voice. No one's gonna get mad.
What does that one say, Jake?
All right, it says hospitality, technology, training / apprenticeships, and then underneath it says learn how to use a POS.
Who is that?
What is that?
All right, Brian.
So just to kind of give you a little background on what I've done, I am responsible for bringing the SmartTab technology into Las Vegas. It wasn't here in existence up until about 2 years ago, and now it's just based on company policy because they were still developing parts of it. But what I find is that here and many places across town, there's a lack between the implementation of these new technologies into the workforce and having that training and that constant kind of upskilling of things that are being introduced that are supposed to be helping them, but a lot of times the employees look at it as, I got to learn that, or that's not going to, I do it better myself, or whatever the case may be. And so I'd love to talk and work with the schools here to implement some sort of apprenticeship with regards to point of sale, because we're such a heavy hospitality city that if someone were able to even, whether it's my point of sale or any other point of sale, they can come into working at a restaurant or a bar at night or a nightclub, already kind of knowing the basics. It saves time and energy and money for the companies that are bringing those new employees on, and those personalities, those people are going to have a better chance at finding a better job right out of the gates because they have that experience.
Awesome.
You guys got that? Any follow-up for Brian said, Derek?
Yeah, and this is, I agree, Brian, and this is pretty much aligned with kind of the, the digital skills divide conversation, right? So pretty much shaping job-specific hospitality technology programs, right? And I think, I think some currently do exist, but I think there's, just given where we are and a sense of urgency around this work, we need more of it. So I agree.
I'm sorry to keep reminding you, but some people can't hear. So please, this is your chance. Everyone.
How big should I go? Like that?
Yes. Yeah. So I need for y'all to speak up because what you're saying is so important, and they really want to hear it. So thank you. Oh, right here. Where? Pointing at me? Where you going?
Oh, Bill, you gotta use your voice.
I'm sorry, I think Chris had a question.
That was like a game show host.
All right, Jake. That was great.
Okay, so we have assess for soft skills, train for soft skills, and hire culture fit. Who had that one? Oh.
Ingrid?
So I talked about that before, right? Soft skills, and I'm gonna explain a little bit for the ones that maybe don't really know what soft skills are. Soft skills are the ones that normally a lot of people have, but they're also trainable, right? Examples of soft skills, we have communication, emotional intelligence, adaptability. So those soft skills in general translate more to success. So if you're able to assess them right at the beginning of the hiring process, then you're kind of building better teams, and it basically translates to long-term job success. Now, I put there assess soft skills, also train them. You are not going to fire everybody, right? So you need to train the employees that you already have. There are ways. If you Google, you're going to find that there is a lot of trainings online for these type of soft skills. It is a little bit harder. How you train somebody to have good communication, how you train them to have good emotional intelligence. It gets tricky. We all know not everybody can work at a front desk and have a lot of high stress with a difficult guest, but they are trainable. And the last one that I put, it was to hire on culture fit or culture add or culture match. It's really important that you understand what is the culture of your company. so that the people that you're going to hire are a culture fit to your company, or else they're going to feel uncomfortable, they're going to realize they're not on the right place, and they're going to leave. So I think those are important factors while hiring, and I guess those are my suggestions.
Thank you, Ingrid. Does anybody here use assessments to hire for emotional fit in your companies? Anybody? Oh, okay. So we have a little experience with something called Tradeify, and it's it's based off the same stuff Myers-Briggs or the Holmes theorem about, but it's a binary system where you go yes or no, a series of yes or no answers. 90 seconds is all it takes, and it's incredibly accurate for cultural fit. And so anyway, I just thought I'm glad to see some others are. So I'd love to hear more about that. Did I hear? Oh, a question. Okay.
Yeah, so I just want to add 100% agree about emotional intelligence, EI. Real quick, I am in education, but I'm not from education. I'm from the private sector, right? So I did business and IT consulting for many large consulting firms, Anderson Consulting, Accenture, so on. So I 100% believe EI is the way to go. In education, we call it social emotional learning, but I like EI better. I love acronyms, CI, continuous improvement. But would love to implement that 6 through 12 of our students here. And I pitched it to our district leaders, and there's a cost to it, right? There's a cost to it. I'll tell you the number, $1 million a year. So miraculously, I came up with $1 million a year for every year, $1 million from 6th grade to 12th grade in Clark County. And we mentioned, fifth largest school district. We could get every student prepared. And I don't like to call them soft skills. I like to call them like career skills or professional skills, because that's really what gets you the job, right? You can train skills, right? But if you can't communicate, you can't work together, you can't collaborate. So that's one of the challenges that we have in K-12 education, is getting people to understand the value of that. And given we all, I'm not asking for $1 million, but I'm not going to say no if all of you businesses came and wanted to give me $1 million as a strategic to, hey, and I already have a company lined up that's willing to implement and train teachers and students on it. But I just want to say I 100% agree with all the comments about that.
Thank you. I provided a solution.
Yeah. Sure.
I have a business. But here's the accountability part. Here's the part when it comes to soft skills, business ethics, and so on. I could fire them. They didn't show up to the meetings. They were in trouble, right? But it was a safe learning environment, right? So if they're going to make a mistake, it's easy for me to say, hey, listen, you made a mistake. You're supposed to call me if you're not going to make a meeting. Let's call, and then we'll give you some more chances. But if they only got so many chances, obviously they would lose that internship. But here's the thing: is they're building something very, they're building something on their own. They learned within a team. They were able to get some mentorship throughout the community. It cost me 30 minutes a week of my time, because we did two stand-ups a week, 50 minutes a chance. They built all the stuff on their own. They just had to make sure they met the goals every sprint. Just to give you a heads up, that company, because I'm a businessman, right? Even though I own a software development company, I'm really not a software developer. I'm just a businessman. In the end, they ended up launching their business last month.
Awesome.
Just because they were hanging out with the and they incorporated this accountability. Again, very little bit of time. CCSD worked on me with the people always talk about liability for anybody 16 or on. There is no liability. Senators board, there is no liability issue if you have 16. But you can mitigate that liability or risk or whatever by creating these online interaction mentorship internships that teach, again, business ethics, soft skills, and so on. CCSD is not something you should talk about. This when they were trying to tackle the internship issue, they said we created our own. They created a thing called venture capital, venture labs, which is putting the students during the summer into a work environment doing design thinking. I've done. I'd love to see, maybe something that works on your guys' companies. I know CCSD can help out with that, but this really idea, minimal time, minimal risk, add accountability into the equation, and maybe you'll start teaching some of these kids the skill sets they need.
Awesome. Yeah, that's actually
Is that resonating with you guys, the employers? Because I want to make sure that what we're talking about is what you want to hear, right? One of the things about this model is that we don't want to come to you, and Nevada State College, we don't want to come to you, this is what we offer, this is on our shelf today. That's the wrong approach. So we got to stop before that, right? And so we're here to say, what is it that you need, right? So I want to make sure I'm checking in with you guys, what the comments that are coming in are what you want to hear, right? So Jake.
Yeah, actually, that ties in. The next post that I had was formalized internship program / OJT paid. So, yeah, perfect.
So we've had a couple of successes in our company with OJT. It was Goodwill that administered it, and a couple of candidates came to us, and we had an internship program. They stayed on past that program, and I've reached out to them multiple times, but there's just not enough pull in the OJT program, and so it'd be nice to, I don't know. I actually don't know the back end of how they find these people and how they attract people that are looking for OJT opportunities. But as an employer, I'm happy to do it, and I like those partnerships. It's worked out well for us over the years. So just not enough pool for it.
And that is so true, right? Just right now, there's not enough people, as I told you the examples earlier, and so employers today have to be a little bit more willing to take somebody with a record. Right? They serve time on something. Of course, if you're a bank or there's certain jobs that don't make sense, but where it makes sense, you have to be open to these alternate labor pools that perhaps weren't your first choice before. Reentry, people with disabilities, young people that need mentoring, training, all the skills you talked about. So, but those programs are available. Also, a point I want to make is many times, not all the time, many times somebody you find on your own might be eligible for these programs. So keep that in mind. The only solution is not us finding somebody, but if you have somebody in mind, we might be able to verify eligibility and put them through those programs. So it could be, somebody in your network, not necessarily ours. Does that make sense? Jake?
All right. So the next one I have here is public-private partnerships to provide pathways. That's a lot of P's. For current employees.
When we talk about employee retention, one of the things that we find that employees are looking for is that they need a vision for what's going to happen in their future with your company, right? They don't want to be stagnant. So to provide those pathways, maybe you work with the educational institutions. I know CSN, I know UNLV, NSC. They all have programs where they'll work with private companies to assess your needs and provide something. So as employers, for us to work with them to provide those opportunities for students to upskill and then get those better jobs and provide that. I think that would help with the retention. It helps with the upskilling. It's just kind of an all-around solution there.
You guys are capturing that clarification in there, right? Mm-hmm. So that when we do the work group, that comes up. Yep. So again, all this you can see is starting to shape. Oh, sorry, yeah. All this is starting to shape up to what the work groups will be like over the next, the next steps. Today we're identifying, but then the work begins there. We're going to sit down with CCSD and say, how do we create something with CCSD at Amazon or ITS or MGM, right? Or for the industry, I should say. And so that's the work ahead of us.
Yeah, this one actually might tie into that, but it says certification-based career path.
Here, I got it.
And actually, real quick, I know a lot of people are putting certification or they need more certifications. If you can be even more specific about the types of certifications, that would actually help going forward. I know someone mentioned Cisco is the one. I heard Cisco networking. But yeah, just heads up on that.
Yeah, this is something we've been doing for a while at our company. We've been trying to expand and mature it over the years. So for us, it's having pay scales set for a number of IT certifications that our technicians earn, and it's the pathway forward for them to progress through their career. works really well when you have someone that kind of starts entry level, because they get that immediate feedback of, I go get my A+ and I get a raise. And so they're kind of incentivized to continue to grow and learn. Where it has some of its shortcomings is when you have someone come in has some experience and they can do the work, but they don't have any of the knowledge or experience. And, we would try to counter to say, well, if you already have the skill set and the knowledge, then it shouldn't take you very long to earn the certification. But usually their motivation drops off and they sit stagnant for too long. And then, switching jobs becomes more attractive to them, right? They can kind of take that shortcut path to just work somewhere else and get a, 30, 60% raise or whatever it looks like if they are stagnant for too long. So one important thing that we have found is having some guidance for them. So we'll have like foundational certifications all of our techs need to get. They need the A+, the Network+, the Security+, right? Like that's a common, knowledge base that they need to have no matter kind of what branch they end up going in. Then we have a lot of Microsoft certifications and networking certifications and things like that, for where we can guide them based on their day-to-day. Another important thing that we've had to do investing-wise is really kind of hire and build a position around managing all these technicians, of having regular check-ins with them, of how's it going, are you studying, are you progressing, and really kind of helping them learn how to learn, where sometimes just learning the technical stuff or pointing them in the right direction isn't enough. Sometimes you have to kind of develop them to break them out of fixed mindset thinking of like, well, I've never been a good student, right? Like, I've never been able to do that. It's like, no, you can. You just have to do it this way. I found that it's helpful for me to like tell my own story of going through this pathway of saying, this is the way I did it. Do 30 minutes a day. If you miss a day, it's not that big of a deal. Don't try to like have a big cram session on the weekends. Do it in these ways. Listen to the videos at 2x speed, so you're forced to keep your attention on it. Your mind doesn't wander as much. And I give them some of those tips, and then they can start to, oh yeah, okay, I can see it now. And then hopefully you get those payoffs, right? They advance their skills, they get the increases in pay, they become more marketable, even if they end up moving elsewhere because these are industry recognized certifications. But usually they're really just very appreciative of the opportunity of you caring about them enough and investing in them, where the first thought isn't to just go and leave and get a higher paying job. We've had some people leave more recently, getting significant raises, but it was a struggle for them, right? It wasn't a no-brainer. If you have a good culture and a good relationship with them, it becomes a little. It's not so easy for them just to move up and move.
This upskilling that you're talking about, I heard some of it happens in the office by them watching videos. Is some of it also happening early on at CCSD? Or I'm sorry, is CCSD could not be a partner then to upskill people that already work for you? Is that a correct assumption?
I don't know if they would qualify. In our case, we have a certain material, like there's a website, IT Pro TV, they have like a lot of pre-recorded content, and they have practice tests and things like that. And we give them access to that to help them ways you need to go about preparing to take this test. We'll pay for those materials. We'll pay for their first take on the certification. The only part that we haven't really advanced into that I can see as more of an opportunity would be providing like paid time to actually do these things. Right now, it's really all on your own time. We need you doing the job during the week, and we do that. But I could see that being a next level when we have enough capacity to continue to invest in our people and say, hey, you've got 2 hours a week that you can have for your own personal development, whatever that may be, if it's a certification or if it's something you're just interested in learning that's not really for a client or something specific. I could see that being an opportunity to advance it further, but sometimes there's cost considerations or actually being able to
So the money for the sector partnerships that I've been talking about, the several examples I gave, is meant to seed that. So incentives, stipends, things for incumbent worker training. But back to this question, you mentioned industry certifications, A+, C+, Security+, all these things. Do they come from providers like CSN, Nevada State College?
No, not typically. The ones that we align to are, it's called CompTIA. They have a number of, vendor neutral IT certifications. Some other ones are Microsoft-based certifications. Some are more vendor-specific. I do know some of the training or like, a place like a WGU or something, they have courses or that are based around earning the certification. That's the way you advance to the next class, yeah. And so they provide, materials to help prepare for that. And then, at the end of that, they'll have their certification that they can, keep with themselves. That's separate from their degree.
Okay, Jaime, you made me promise this to be quiet till 1:30, and I'm almost there. But two things. One, we could use, as educators, we could use an idea of what those pathways look like. In other words, what are the stackable credentials you want to see as an employer? That's one. And secondly, to my friend all the way down at the end, and forgive me for forgetting your name, you're sitting right next to Russ, but we are in the process of writing a grant right now, an apprenticeship grant currently, where we need employer partners. It has a veterans priority to it, so we would love to talk with you and work with you on building an apprenticeship pathway that would be paid for within that grant. So those are the things, and we're trying to, at this point, establish IT pathways within our education and training center, which we're developing, and also in our current schools, so that we can provide those types of trainings that you would need for not only entry level but continuous training, entry level plus incumbent worker training.
Thank you, Frank. 1 second, I'm going to go to Isla. You had your hand up? Okay.
I just wanted to add on what we've done. I'm with Governor's Office of Workforce Innovation, GOIN. We're very interested in work-based learning opportunities and really helping to shape innovative and creative and exciting pathways for young people. We have recently partnered the state of Nevada with Amazon AWS to bring the development for cloud careers to Nevada. So it's just an example of something we might consider as we move forward. But the exciting part is the K-12 space has come to the table and the higher ed space, in addition to state government, which is allowing us to embed it within the educational system in our state from K-12 all the way through higher ed, so that you're really producing young people that have the talent they need to move into these types of career paths. So we can mirror this in other areas in IT, but we're trying to be as responsive and relevant to what you folks need in the workplace.
Thank you, Isla.
So I was going to add certification. With my background being in the industry, I love that idea. So where we're at today, I finally have been able to secure funding on certification. So this, probably by the end of June, we're probably going to have about 300-400 students test on CompTIA exams. We already have 2 students that have tested over the last 2 years, CompTIA A+, Network Plus, Security Plus. We'll probably have right around 200-300 get the CompTIA A+ certification. And actually, the gentleman from MGM just earlier this week met with Wanda and JP about developing a program for these students to go into your entry-level computer engineer, entry-level tech support. So those conversations. And my goal, and that's just CompTIA. Next week, we got 30 seniors testing on the CCNA exam. We're bringing on Microsoft and Adobe next week. We're working with Dewana and Nevada Help Desk to help provide options for CCS students to get certification through them. And my goal is over the next 4 or 5 years, because I worked in the industry, so I know the value of certifications. Way back when CompTIA had the ability where you can get lifetime certified, I was grandfathered in, so I don't have to retake the test every 5 years. But my goal is over the next 3 to 4 years is literally in CCSD to have 3,000 to 4,000 students annually be industry certified or credentialed on the IT side. I'm also pushing all the other sectors as well, the other certifications as well. So, and obviously, just like Frank said, would love to engage the partners, because I know every company has a different certification desire path, right? Some need CCNA, some would love Network Plus, A+, Security Plus, some would love Adobe, Microsoft Systems Certified Engineer, Oracle. Back in the day, I was Oracle 8i DBA certified. So I 100% understand that. However, in education, sometimes it's hard to get them to stop testing, in my opinion, these crap tests that have no value to employers, but have value to people in the education system, or elected officials or whomever. I don't know. I'm sorry. This is me getting my soapbox, but trying to convince them that industry certifications is what we really should be testing students on, not in essence like we have end of program assessment tests. You get a sticker on a diploma. I've talked to students, they could care less about the sticker, but they would rather have the CompTIA certification because an employer values that. It helps them get the foot in the door and stuff. So,
yeah, that's actually a really good transition because I think we need to move on to the next topic anyway. But while we're kind of have the momentum, again, I would love to hear, as you can tell, the acquisition partners as well, what are those specific certifications? List a bunch of them. We heard a couple people list different kinds of certifications. We really would love to hear your feedback and say, are these actually certifications that you want and need? And if not, what are the other types of certifications that that you would prefer over that? Because a lot of times we're kind of shooting in the dark a little bit when it comes from the workforce development perspective. We think we hear things from employers and we kind of pick up on things and we sort of build these programs without necessarily kind of getting that employer engagement that Frank was talking about. So if you could take a minute, I think doesn't matter what color at this point, we're kind of all mixed. So put down some of the specific certifications you have, and then also, as I mentioned in the morning, we talked about very specific skill sets. So what are the certifications? What are those specific skill sets? And again, if you have any ideas that you want to share with us on how we can help you get your employees and your future employers get those certifications, we'd love to hear them.
Is it fair that I jump real quick? I was just going to tackle a couple things. Again, at my company, we're the sponsor of, I'm sure you guys might not even know about it, software development apprenticeship program, certified by the state, registered by the state. The beauty of this is, and I think it's going to tackle a couple of your issues, retainment and certification. The people that participate in the apprenticeship, and it's a partnership with Workforce Connections, CSN, and LVGEA, they get basically a bachelor program paid for through this program. So a couple things happening. One, they're getting certification as they're getting through their software development side of it, and number two, you got a retainment. So you got a mitigated risk on people leaving once you give that 5 months worth of experience. They got about 2 years to be on this program, so you got a retainment issue. I know that a lot of us as employers, we want predictability, we want mitigated risk. And these are sort of these ideas where you're looking for it. I want somebody for long term, and I want to be able to make sure that they're upskilling, and so on. So there are programs that are out there. Again, the software development apprenticeship program. The beauty of it is, it doesn't have to be a brand new spanking employee. It could be someone that's eligible, that's already on your employment list. So just want to share that idea.
Thank you, Josh. I want to make sure also that you all know, Derek, you asked this question. Everybody who attended today, their contact information will be shared with everybody so that you can contact each other as you will. Again, this particular partnership doesn't belong to Workforce Connections or the LVGA or to it belongs to you, really. It should. So again, the employers are supposed to drive the agenda, right, and guide the investment. So what I'm going to do now, because I think I've already lost two, Jake, I want to at least identify, in case somebody has to leave, which work group they want to be a part of. So I'm thinking, Jake, instead of having three, maybe we can put this one right here, right? Make this a work group because it's very related. And then this one looks more, again, a little broader, less technical and more about alternative labor pools, DEI. It's a little separate. Does that make sense? So we have two work groups we're going to move forward with. If you want to be, you can be involved with both. And again, it's because it's difficult to have these kinds of meetings. So there'll be more smaller group meetings, more tailored to your time. Bring in the partners that are applicable to that solution or that opportunity for collective action. And so I'm going to go around the table and ask you, and you can tell me, I want this one, the expanding or the pipelines, or the ones that's about, upskilling and certifications, or both, right? So we just want to record it so we can make sure we can invite you and not leave you out. So Brian, I'll start with you. Okay. So if you can write Brian there, Miguel. Okay. Very good. Ingrid, upskilling also. I'll assign Steve because let's put Steve on pipelines. That's what he gets for leaving. Have anybody heard from Julie? Bill? No? Craig. Okay, pipelines for Craig. Peter. Okay, pipeline, Peter. Derek. Upskilling. What happened now? Did we go dark? Oh, okay. So you got Derek upskilling? Russ. Russ is upskilling. Nathan. Okay. And then I'm going to assign these folks, let's see. Yeah, we'll put Brandon and or Jean-Claude over there on pipeline. Yep. And when we reach out, we'll let them know they were assigned. So, okay, back to you, Jake.
So one of the certifications that one of the certifications that I've personally never heard of, Microsoft Azure Cloud Services. Who wrote that? All right.
Sorry to the AWS guy that I'm bringing in Microsoft's. Okay, so not going to get beat up after I leave here, but that's something that we're running into, whether it's AWS or Azure. We're an Azure shop. So, it's definitely a new certification. Back in the past, it was the MCSE or MCSA, the Microsoft Server certification. Now it's, cloud services, Microsoft 365, Azure. That's a lot of what we're doing now, more than in-house servers and workstations and things that we're managing. So, certifications probably from an industry perspective, we love WGU. I think they're here. We have a lot of people that have gone there for their degrees. The CompTIA certifications are part of it, but we'd like to see more the cloud-based certifications because that's such an important part of what we do today.
Yeah.
Who's going to add something? The technical training that you mentioned in the beginning that we're opening up there on Maryland, we are actually looking at. Oh yeah. So the Career Tech Academy that got mentioned in the beginning, the Technical Training Academy is what we call it. Those students we're actually going to be implementing the AWS certification, the Azure Cloud, and hopefully the Google Cloud certification as well, and offering that to those students. So that is in the plan. That opens this fall. So we're excited about offering those cloud certifications. Because once again, I realize the value of those cloud certifications as well. We're actually looking at implementing a virtual desktop solution for students as well too. So, but yeah.
Awesome. All right. I have his low voltage networking certification, physical layers of IT infrastructure.
Yeah, as the city starts to age, because we're still fairly a new city, maybe the amount of truly experienced low voltage contractors in the city compared to other cities, I think might be able to add to this is low, and I think it's because there's not many outlets for people to kind of get into that field, but it is a highly desirable field right now, and it's very necessary to the continued growth of our city. Infrastructure is where everything starts in my business, which is power and internet, and if you don't have good infrastructure, then you can't have good experiences for your customers.
Great. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, I got cybersecurity CISSP. Okay.
The other side of our business is cybersecurity. So there's actually a lot of other certifications out there, but that would be something else we'd be looking at. It's a big growth area for us as a cybersecurity side. We just opened up our division for that. So training in those areas. CSSP is a kind of an industry standard, but there's several others.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Derek. Thanks for being in touch. Have a good one, everyone.
Yeah. All right. So again, the handwriting, I apologize. Digital technology sales and business development. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, just from the custom software side, it's tough to sell custom software. You're taking something that somebody's great, and you're digitally producing that. It's no easy task, and So yeah, just being able to get people in there and understand even what that process looks like. Most of those things can be solved once you have somebody and you pay for them to be on there, and they come out better after a couple times. But it's a very unique skill set and takes years and years of practice. So, but specifically for custom software or new solutions, whether you already have a remaining one or you're building a new one.
Any hunch on what you'd like to see put together to address that?
Question.
Because one of the things we want to do is kind of catalyze the solution focus thing he was talking about, but we want it to come from you, right? Because again, we're used to in government kind of saying, hey, here's what you need. And a lot of times, like you did to us 4 years ago, no, that's not what I need as an employer.
Yeah, I think what it would, I mean, a lot of it is just time and resources, and I think that's where funding kind of goes through my short, mid, and long term, because I feel like enough people in this room can get together and teach people some amazing things to be able to upskill all these things on that board. So for me personally, just, I'm wanting to make sure my staff gets paid every 2 weeks because I'm a startup. So that's kind of where my brain is at every day and every night. But I think being able to have some funding to get in there and create a program that specifically introduces that to somebody, I could absolutely build that out. That's not difficult. I'd train somebody the same way I train them and do that at scale. Excuse me. But I think the other thing is interesting is there's no reason why, people in this room, whether it's CCSD and even Ingrid and AWS and Derek and myself can't get in the room and collaborate to build something that's for the greater good. I feel like if we're doing things in a vacuum here, then we're all just kind of going our separate ways. But I think what's awesome about Vegas, and I not only say that because I'm born and raised here, but it's a fact of people who move here and feel it, is we are a cohesive institution. And, Blackfire is one of those examples. Like getting people off their battlegrounds and getting them in a room like this is where things happen. So I think if the funding is there, I believe that that's where we can put some of that stuff together. We all have a day job, but I think that is what can start to increase that. Get real battlefield tested things into the real world environment, test them out, and then pay for it.
So you've talked about funding beyond. Earlier we touched on stipends and the cost to train an employee that usually has to do it off the clock. And I said that these grants we're getting can cover some of that. You're talking though about the cost to create a product, right? To write something that applies to all.
Yeah.
Okay, the good news is that also is part of the EDA grant that we submitted, has funds for that, for the development, if you will, of things. And so, again, there's no guarantee we're going to get that money, but a large piece of that was for that, to actually build new things. So thank you, and let's make sure we capture that, right?
They may not know what the EDA grant is. Some of them, it's a good job challenges. So
Yeah, if you guys remember earlier, I mentioned these sector partnerships are being, Workforce Connections and the LVGA and the chambers, as you saw by the Workforce Blueprint, we're already committed to standing up the sector partnerships. But as you can tell, that takes resources. I mean, just look at the staff here today and the logistics to get you together. And this is just day one. And there are 7 sectors. So it takes effort. And so City of Las Vegas, put $1 million in for it. Again, you just heard Congresswoman Lee brought us $100,000, and we've applied for that $28 million EDA, Economic Development Administration from the U.S., the federal agency. So all that is with this in mind, the things that you're talking about. And that's why, again, for us, I want to make sure you hear me clearly. We need you to be the one that says this is what we invest in. We don't want to come pretend that we have the solution because we're who we are, but instead the model we're trying to follow is saying, get in the room, let's get you guys together, not just today, but through the work groups, so that these investments can be really what meets your needs.
last one I have here, digital product.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. It's just custom software. It's different. Understanding digital products, product managers. They're hard to come by. There are many different types. But I think my point is if we can start to introduce that into some type of curriculum, typically there's not necessarily majors that come out of it. There's usually just smart, ambitious people that start in technology and they understand and go through the process of understanding agile software and getting into digital products. Yeah. Well, I mean, there are technical product managers, and then there's non-technical product managers that have more of a business side. If you have a unicorn, you have all three. But being able to understand right product, right market, get in there and build something custom for the customer, like it's a big role, and there's several layers of them. But without them, you don't have a good product.
Yeah, we're updating this one right now because this one was the previous version of the Workforce Blueprint. That just came out 2 weeks ago. But in the previous one, software developer was the number one in demand. And so, and I used to hear from the guys, what is it called? The Iron Yard? Is that the right that was here?
Yep.
How, again, difficult it is to, to get those positions. And so home growing them here is, I think, where we want to go, right?
Yep.
And that's why it's important to work with CCSD and so forth. So,
absolutely.
yes.
So this is just an idea, but again, I didn't have any paper there, but I was just thinking about just right before the pandemic, we work with a college, now from the city of Las Vegas, that we were actually using our technology instead of to video assess like new hires. We use it with your students before they went right into the workforce. Unfortunately, that relationship ended with the pandemic, but I think now that we keep talking about how important is soft skills and cognitive skills, like if we can determine how our students performing, and based on that, then we train them on skills that they need. That's something that we did it for a while. Like my company can definitely help on the process. Right now, we don't have any like training or courses based on soft skills, but that's something that we're willing to work on. We understand that that's something really important for the actual workforce. So I think that would be pretty cool to have the students to learn those skills before even they go to the workforce and to know like how they're performing. So I don't know, but that's something that we definitely would love to work on.
And when you say students, you mean high school students? College too?
Either or.
Okay. So I don't know the answer to the question. So Frank, I'll go to you first and then to CCSD on, is that happening? Are you guys, testing for soft skills in your CSN students before they go to the employer?
I can't really say that we do that consistently, no. But listening to your earlier comment and the need, embedding soft skill training within our curriculum is what we're doing currently. And, as an automatic piece of what we're doing from a curriculum standpoint. So that will respond to that need, I believe. But there's not an active testing going on at this particular point across all of them.
So it's definitely an opportunity that we want to capture.
It is an opportunity.
Yeah, so all of our, I'm going to classify career and technical education students do have to take what's called a workplace readiness test. No, it's not it's a separate one that the state developed. For whatever reason, we like to develop our own things. I don't know why. We can't use something else, but that's another story, another conversation. But I 100% agree, like having what Frank said, it is embedded in many of our standards that, we're building that. But we do also need some way to ensure that, hey, this student is prepared, ready. Some way to ensure so that you as an employer know that, hey, this student is competent, industry certification, and he's passed some basic, I love the term EI, but emotional intelligence, right? They can function in a group. If I hire them and put them in a team, they'll talk to each other, not just texting on the phone or something like that. Yeah, so we do have a test we use. We are revisiting what that test is, whether we use work keys or some other standard or barometer, but 100% agree that, yeah, we need to find some measure that definitely gets endorsed by employers as opposed to people in education. So.
And if I heard you correctly, you said CTE students, the general public.
Right. Yeah. So that's the other thing. So CT, I also firmly believe every student should be a career tech ed student, because really what we're training is K to career. It's not K to 12, it's not K to 16, K to 20, it's K to career. Some students will leave at high school straight into the career. Some students need to go and get an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and all that. So we're training for career. So no matter what it is, you know, we need all the students to test that. Unfortunately, right now, we just have our career tech ed students enrolled in specific career pathways testing. I'd love to get it for all the students, just like I'd love to get the EI, hate to say it, $1 million a year for every student in middle school and high school for that. But that's the cost I try to sell to my higher ups and to elected officials, that no one seems to bite on it. But I need all of you as industry folks to tell these elected officials, to tell the higher ups in education that, hey, we should be investing in our young people, you know, especially on EI, because it's career agnostic, right? It doesn't matter what career they get. It's a success skill for life. So, yeah.
Tom, and then I come to you, Miguel. This industry sector partnership, that is one of the roles, meaning I firmly believe that, as was just said, there's no stronger voice than yours for our legislators, both in Carson City and DC, our governor, our local elected officials, and that's one of the reasons this model is successful, because it's not me calling, you know, my boss or him calling his boss. It's business saying we need this. So that's another reason why this industry sector partnership is successful, because it can drive things that don't exist today. So, thank you.
Hey, I just wanted to add, just like with the industry certifications, talking about what skills these soft skills are. Because like Peter, he talked about dealing with customers who are unhappy. I think every technician probably deals with people who are unhappy because something isn't working. You don't call unless you're unhappy. So identifying the specific skills you want helps those of us who building programs understand what we need to embed in those programs. It's not just soft skills and not just EI. What specifically are you trying to deal with, so that when we produce a graduate of whatever program they're in, that they can address those skills and they have those skills.
Thank you, Tom. Miguel?
Question, is EI being used also to train someone to have better EI, or is it just a filter? Because I would think that people who fail EI are still valid and worthwhile people, right? So I think there should be also an effort to help people become better at emotional intelligence, because they can be better. You know, to eliminate them by, hey, go work at McDonald's. You know, like, that's not really fair, in my opinion. You know.
It actually can be trained, so you're right.
Yeah. So I think this money could be used also to train people to be better socially, whatever that means for them. Because yeah, I mean, to me, it's sounding a little not fair, really. You know, I don't use it, but usually I have people who are really good at hiring. But this is my question. You know, how is EI being used? You know?
Yeah. So how we use EI. So I was able to get funding 3 years ago to do small pilots with our schools, and focused on our Title I inner city high schools, where I felt those students could benefit the most. And really, there's no score. What EI is doing is helping to build their collaboration, communication skills, and also there's a career piece in it, helping them to kind of encourage them, support them on, well, maybe this career is better for you because you like working with numbers. Maybe an accounting career is better than a career in hospitality, you know, or hey, you love talking to people. Maybe working a POS system is better. So that's what we're using EI for. There's no score associated with EI that we use, right? It's more helping to build the students a set of skills, those professional emotional intelligence skills. And that's why I say 6 through 12, because really it needs to start in 6th grade. Right. I unfortunately only got funding for 12th grade, and slowly we've been expanding it. But then I told my higher ups, and I know we all have data behind this, right? The benefits of, you know, soft skills, all that stuff. So, you know, to try to get it, and it has to happen at multiple times. You know, it's not something that can be done one semester or 1 year. You know, imagine if we started in 6th grade, building EI skills from 6th grade all the way to 12th grade. How much stronger are those students going to be when they go to higher ed, when you hire them straight out of college? Right? That's what we're trying to build, and that's what we need your support on. So.
I just want to add on that really quick, right? So emotional intelligence. A lot of people have it. They don't need to be trained for that. It is really hard to train, But yes, it's possible. So of course we shouldn't exclude anybody that, okay, your emotional intelligence is not that high. What are you gonna do, work on the McDonald's? Of course not. And that's the purpose of knowing what skills you have. Like we have kids that are super extroverted, or kids that they don't really like to talk or communicate. So if you're able during their school time to know what skills they need to develop, of course they're gonna perform better when they go to the workforce. So I think that's the idea, or the whole idea behind like soft skills. And I mean, emotional intelligence is one of so many, right? Like we have in our system 45, I believe. Every specific position require minimum 5 to 6 main soft skills that the person should have. But it doesn't go just to the point to assess them and that's it, right? You want to actually train them. So if us collectively can get our students better, then they're going to perform well, like way better when they go to the workforce. So I think that's the point. They are really hard to train. They're not like hard skills, but it is possible. And if we can educate them on that, then we're going to have people that are more prepared. And we really are not going to need many degrees or years of experience because they have the skills to be trained, to be coachable, to adapt to the work environment. So I think that that would be a really cool thing if we can do together and collaborate on that.
I have a feeling EI is going to be a huge piece moving forward for this work group. So, yep.
So I think big thing that we should also maybe take into account besides emotional intelligence is financial intelligence. You know, we're all in business and we're talking about IT, which is very complex. And to get these kids started at like an early age of maybe failing at some project management type stuff to where when they come into a position that is actually a paid position, it's not costly for those employers to if they make mistakes. And I don't think there's enough programs that are teaching financial literacy that is combined and how do you use that in business, right? If someone were to understand the benefits of working in a McDonald's, right? Because McDonald's is a massive corporation. Working at McDonald's, if it were broken down to these are the skills that you're just starting to get and this is the stepping stone to this and this and this, and someone seeing that path versus you just go work at McDonald's, I think there's a lot to be learned in that space.
To tie that in, I know, Jake, you want to move to this next board, right? So Jake's going to move to this expanding pipeline. But before that, let me share with you another example. There's many, but this all reminds me of this, helping our CCSD staff, because they're over, every time I go to a school, I was like, I could never be a teacher. They're so freaking loaded with stuff to try to give these kids, as we heard, sometimes there are assessments that don't. Personally, I agree. I think, again, employers' voice should be dictate what kids are teaching in the school, not, some academic something. But hopefully, again, we're moving in that direction. But to help that, with CCSD, we partnered to do something we call Workforce Fellowship. And so there's 50 high schools roughly. We have 11 of them. We've immersed their career counselor into our system for 9 months. And somebody was talking here about incumbent worker training, or, so we've upskilled them to be knowledgeable in how to guide these, 30,000 kids that are going to graduate in May earlier, before they graduate, into this $1 million system that we were talking about, all these resources, right? So they're really good at the other stuff, right? How to connect them to the 4-year pathway or longer pathways. But these other things like apprenticeships or short-term credentials and how to use, again, our resources is something we're doing with CCSD, which I'm grateful as well. And so our goal is to do all 50 high schools. We're at 11 right now. Jake?
Yeah, so our last category is expanding pipelines, and I actually I saved this for the last board on purpose because I think this category is going to actually tie together all of the various things that we talked about today, including some of these certifications. So we're going to do the same thing we did before. Take a Post-it note, share your thoughts. What are some of the things that we as a workforce system and we as an education system can help with your business when it comes to expanding pipelines and hiring talent. But I would also say I'm curious because we hear this a lot, talking about we want to reach into these non-traditional pipelines. I think Derek used a term that I'm actually probably going to steal because I really liked it, but it was creating on-ramps for non-traditional workers. And so what are the things that you as an industry can tell us? Because I know for a fact, CompTIA certifications. We have 25 schools here in Vegas that offer CompTIA A+, Net Plus, things like that. And I know Workforce Connection spends hundreds of thousands of dollars funding trainings for those people that don't end up necessarily getting a job out of it. So in addition to your ideas, we would love to hear, hey, if we took a kid from underserved population, we send them to school, we get them these 3 certifications, what is the other things that you guys are going to be looking for as employers that we can actually get that person employed and get their foot in the door with your organization? So if you can also kind of bring that lens to it, we'd really appreciate it. And then, like I said, any other ideas that you have about diversifying the workforce, best practices that you or yourselves are doing at your company, we would love to hear to see if we can scale and replicate them with our other partners.
So Brian's going to get us started with his statement about real-time experience is better than any degree or certification.
Yeah, just kind of going back to what I was talking about before, it's you know, one of the challenges is finding people that have experiences that are just enough for them not to create larger problems for companies that, you know, when we're talking on the IT side, we're not hiring people that are, you know, have basic skills. They need to be very skilled up, very upskilled in that sense. And it's dangerous if they don't have real-time experience, because as good as their resume or certification or degree may be, they can get into the field and then absolutely suck. So, sorry to be brief.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
That's very good. This one, I haven't heard these terms before, so I want to hear a little bit about nearshore/offshore employment. Is that near the beach or no? What does that mean?
Well, we do have an office in Long Beach, so you know. You know, one of the things we're talking about a lot is because of the hybrid workforce now, or remote workforce, is looking for employment outside of the country. As a small employer that's becoming more and more a possibility, hiring workers, you know, near shore, which would be Latin America or South America, or offshoring, you know, to the Philippines or some of the other areas. So some assistance with that and understanding, you know, what that looks like. We'd love to have local workers, but you know, it's not always, it's limited. So maybe some help with, as a small employer, looking for that.
So the first help I'm going to give you is I'm going to ask Peter to share briefly how successful you guys have been with that, right? Because again, and by the way, let me be clear, we always are going to want to, as we said earlier, grow our own pipeline, but we know that takes time, right? And so in the meantime, since this is a short-term need, maybe Peter, you can share. I know you guys have been successful doing exactly what Nathan was talking about.
Yeah, we've been hiring and developing people out in the Philippines for probably 6-7 years now. So we've been able to build out a workforce there for a variety of positions, between technicians to accounting, marketing, sales, really all areas of the business. So we really took an approach to look at a job specifically to say, is this a job that can only be done hands-on, onshore, face-to-face with the client? Or can it be done anywhere? And if it can be done anywhere, let's try and offshore it. Let's try to develop and build those pockets of talent in a labor competitive area that still has good customer service, good language skills, and we can develop them from there. So we've been hiring 8 technicians at a time and running them through a 2-month boot camp, essentially training program, getting them up to speed, whether they have a lot of technical experience or just a little bit, and then kind of rolling them to then get more on the job training and then continue to upskill through certifications and start to just build them from that ground up standpoint. So we're at this point, we're probably over 200 employees, and probably I think we have a company party in our Philippines area, and we're going to have like 80 people at that party. So we have nearly half of our workforce is not in the United States. And that allows us to really specialize on those specific positions that are hands-on, that should be going on site and meeting with clients. And then that kind of back end help desk support or whatever it is, finding ways to find talented people and develop them, in other countries. So we've expanded out into South Africa. We have some people in India, a good amount in the Philippines, but we're looking for wherever there's talent, right? Because talent isn't unique to our country or our language. It's just a matter of finding it and developing it, really.
Does that help, Nathan? Yeah. Okay. By the way, you'll have each other's contact information today. Jake, you want to do yours first?
Sure. I think this was Ingrid. Avoid bias when hiring, fair scoring, and analytics.
So diversity on the workforce. It's funny, the reason our CEO created the company, and this is a short story, he's black, and he had a lot of stories and struggles when he was actually working before he created our company. So it's really hard not to be biased. We all are. Like if I find another Cuban girl and I'm hiring, most likely I'm gonna like her because there is not many Cubans in the Valley. So, but how you avoid that and you fairly hire people that are qualified without being biased, right? And of course, that applies to have diversity within your company. One of the things that our client do and use our tool for, so how the tool works, basically, people get the automated interview and there is a scoring behind it. Of course, you relied on the artificial intelligence, but we're all IT people, so we know it's not bad, it's actually good. So the idea behind that is that you have a fair scoring regardless their age, their skin color, their sex. So that's a way actually to find diverse teams based on their skills. Now, we give them the scoring, you know who's number 1 and number 2. You might choose number 5 because you like them because he's Cuban. That's a human problem. But at least that's a solution that we can actually give to companies. And hopefully they're not biased after that and they respect the scoring to understand that it doesn't matter your skin color, your accent, your sex, you can actually perform really good, right? So that's another solution.
You're catching that, right, Jack? Okay, we got it. Have you been to Cubanidad?
No.
It's like the newest Cuban restaurant.
I am the best cook for
okay,
Cuban
so you don't need to go to restaurants, all right?
Sorry, no, I used to live in Miami.
Okay.
So the food there actually reminds you home. Here, it makes you a little bit sad.
Okay.
So I went to a few restaurants and actually, there is one that I really go for the music, but the chef is Mexican. No disrespect.
Havana Grill.
No, Cuba Cafe.
Oh, okay.
So how we don't have a Cuban chef? But anyway.
Let's put it on here. Cubans, expanding pipelines.
Let us know you have a barbecue. Invite us.
Right? Yeah, I should. So for now, unless I go to Miami or back home, I make my own food.
All right. Thank you, Ingrid. I want to ask who did this one. Experience needed sales customer service. Was that you? Okay, Miguel. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Customer service, you guys went over a lot. Sales, that's big. There's a lot of positions that people don't think of that you need sales experience. Even the field tech, Peter, or some guy you send out in the field, if he's a real good salesman, that's big. You guys need a firewall, you need a switch, you need another server. Upselling is like huge, and it's overlooked, the skill set, a lot. Having that background and that training is big. So that's all I can really say. I mean, that's something that's really overlooked. So.
If you guys are curious and have 90 seconds, go to our website and look for the Tradeify assessment. And I'm telling you, I wasn't a believer, but I took it. And it tells you several things, among them which careers your personal traits align with, and it gives you, I mean, from most aligned to whatever. The number one thing for me was mechanical engineering. Guess what I am? I'm a mechanical engineer. It was really cool, and every time I do it, either 1, 2, 3, it pegs you. And so try it. Go to our website, look for Tradeify. It's a free thing, 90 seconds, and this is kind of what we do for young people as well. Talking about young people, it says, teach students to navigate the application interview process. Correct.
So at AWS, we have a very unique application interview process. It can be very intimidating, especially for those that haven't been in the field before. So I think teaching students or anybody that wants to get into careers how to navigate that process, what it looks like, how to sell yourself in an interview, I think that's huge. And I guess that spans all industries, even outside of AWS, that interview is crucial. If you can't operate well in an interview, you're going to have trouble getting a job. teaching that as part of the soft skills really is how to navigate that career exploration, how to get a job.
Thank you. We got that. Here's another one that we want to work with you on. Again, we've already committed to this because the other industries right away said we want one. Healthcare was the first one to launch, and we're already producing their activity book for healthcare. Manufacturing's next, and then if you guys, like I said, want to, we'll embark on that as well. But here it says, and this is a way, again, very early exposure, but here it says networking opportunities for people looking to enter the industry. And this is good because, again, one of the things that we want to do with you in the future is, besides, collateral, but also events. It could be industry hiring event, right? Where we, again, funnel all of our efforts, all of our resources, staff it for you, program it for you, the facility, and align, again, the pipelines, whether it's CCSD, CSN, whoever is producing these workers early on, right, to your needs. So tell us more, Craig, about what you mean by this.
So that I put that in just out of personal experience. In my several decades of jobs that I've had, every single one of them has come because I had a relationship with somebody. And I think when people are entering a job or trying to get a job, as we're expanding pipelines and giving opportunities to students, if we're going to give them opportunities, we need to have them be able to meet people, talk to people, build relationships in order to find those jobs. So it's just a big part of my personal journey, and I think that it's useful to provide those opportunities to get to know people in the industry.
Am I wrong? I think there was, I can't remember where they are, maybe, I can't remember the names, but is there an industry association here in the room? Is that Tech Alley?
Yeah, Tech Alley was made for exactly what you're
Okay. Here, yeah, we need it in the mic.
Tech Alley was created for exactly what you're saying. Like I said, I grew up here, and I tell people I grew up in a construction neighborhood, so I didn't have that community support outside of traditional Las Vegas industries. And so, it's by chance I got in technology, did very well with myself. But Tech Alley itself is meant to bring exactly what you said, a community of entrepreneurs, people in the tech field that want to share information. But that's why one of the first rules of Tech Alley is inclusivity. It doesn't matter how old you are. Come down there, share ideas, meet employers. I hear all the time people that got employed, people that started companies, and so on. So it's great you bring it up because I'd like to see 20 different versions of Tech Alley events. It needs to be filled of that. So promote.
And we, again, with this sector partnership, Craig, want to fund it, staff it, support it, right? These executives. I'm going to go to the Tech Queen. Can you tell us how Nevada PAN is an opportunity for maybe not networking, but for exposure also, right, for young people to this industry? Am I correct? Okay.
And I also answer the questions to some of the questions that were asked in terms of experience, starting with the young people. We have what's called Cyber Team 60. We partner with the city of Las Vegas, and several times experience is needed for these students. Once they train, once they get certified, and before employed, they have to build their experience. Well, we partner and over the summer from June 6th to July 29th, it's given young people, high school and post-secondary, an opportunity to apply the skills that they've learned and build those work experiences. The good part for the employers is you all submit work requests. It takes off the liability from you. It's at City Hall under the umbrella of the City of Las Vegas. It's all paid for. I'll tell you right now, companies as large as Nike have already submitted requests for our students to work on Zappos, Medical Association, Education of start to get students the experience they've gotten those training and certifications. School district to make sure all of the certifications that we're mentioned today, we offer at Nevada Help Desk. We were originally under the Governor's Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology, CompTIA, Cisco Academy, you name it, CISSP, all of it we offer. Those students, once they get that piece of paper, they now need to build. That's why we partner with your Nikes and your Zappos and the city and the state and everyone to get that opportunity. Joshua and Ionovate are also. So how do they get that training, that experience? It's the apprenticeship. And now when you say, I want you to have 3 years experience in Cisco and CompTIA and all the others, we have it. And we worked as a community, also with the Workforce Connections, to now build that strong, sustainable workforce.
Thank you, Duana. As you can see, part of the objective today is to expose pockets of excellence and things that are happening so we can, so they're not happening isolated, Russ, as you were saying earlier, so we can maybe as an industry scale up to what you need, right, through these skill acquisition partners. So Jake, I know, how many more do you have? And how are we doing on time?
We have about 10 minutes left. We have 2 more. I think it's the same person because it looks very similar handwriting. It says reading and writing and self-learning. So who wrote? Sorry, maybe it wasn't the same person.
Yeah, I mean, I think we live in a, unique, amazing time right now where really, if you want to learn anything, there's just a wealth of knowledge out there. And I think, a lot of children or people early in their career just need to be pointed in the right direction and kind of encouraged to, have a growth mindset to say, I don't know it yet. And to be able to have good quality resources and kind of some encouragement, more like on the life skills side of, this is how you can start and progress in your career. And if you can take that and be able to speak to it in an interview, that's very attractive, right? If you don't have the work experience and all of that, but you can say, oh yeah, I've built, a lab at home and been playing around with these technologies, or I've done these other things. I've learned these things on my own. That's a very important skill that's going to propel someone through their career. So kind of being able to say it's not just about a classroom setting of learning this specific skill and getting this specific certification. While that's great, you need to kind of be able to build out, I think, a lifelong learning mentality in some way. And it's easier said than done, of course. But that would be something for me as an employer that would be very attractive. Can speak to that kind of passion that they have, whatever it may be, for learning new things, if it's coding or, engineering or something else.
Awesome. Thank you. So last one then is going to be reading and writing skills.
It's along the same lines, just the basic skills. We talked about all this other stuff here, but, just working in any workforce, being able to communicate effectively and, not in just 150 character tweets and text messages, be able to write effectively emails, communication, business proposals, understanding them, legal jargon. If you're going into sales, like you talked about a lot, really being able to communicate effectively, write effective proposals. Those are not just writing fiction, but, writing business-oriented communication.
That's it. You have another one, Jake? That's it. That's the last one.
Okay, I want to make sure that we everybody remembers that our hosts are going to put together a tour right after this at 2:30, so we're on time to finish.
2:20.
So it's going to be Albert, right, Jamie? Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, okay. Jamie will be there too. This is an amazing facility. They're amazing partners. I both knocked my socks. Yeah. That was really good. So if you have time, do that, or at least get info and come back another day. Same question as before. We have a lot of, as you can see, there's still, the work is ahead of us, but we're grateful that you're here to guide us, right? Because again, our goal is to, again, best use the resources that get sent our way. We believe to do it is letting you guide the way. So today was day 1 for your industry. You're going to hear from us again to how we're going to start working and diving down into these specific issues and work groups. Our goal would be over the next few, again, weeks with the skill acquisition partners, which, by the way, they work really hard to be in listening mode. So please give them a hand. I think they earned it. But you will hear them now because, again, as we meet with them to talk about solutions, they might say, what you want built, how do we incorporate the other 50%? I don't have anything like that, so we're going to start from scratch. Where's the money? I have exactly what you need, whatever that is, and everything in between comes next. And hopefully to come back here with you and kind of say, here's 1 or 2, 3 things that we are going to fund because you want it. Goals and the timelines for that, that's our goal. Again, I think you know this, we don't have a magic wand, we can't fix everything at once. To fixing these issues long term for the industry. So with that being said, that you maybe wanted to talk about, wanted to ask us that you haven't had a chance to. Let you join Amy on the door. Anything that you all know, I think everybody knows who the LVGA is, the Chambers of Commerce, Workforce Connections. We're the Southern Nevada's local workforce development board. You know, partners in skill acquisition, I think you all know from secondary to post-secondary. Was there anything said today that maybe you say, I got to go back and ask about that? Anybody? Good job, Miguel and Brian. You guys got off the naughty list. You're good. Okay, no. Okay, Jake? I think we should give Anya a hand. I think I told you guys I'm kind of really stressed because in a few 35 years, and they tell me everything is different. So, Lima, Peru. I'm going to the capital. Oh my God! So you know what seco de cordero is, right? Yeah. So he knows good food. So that's the only thing I think I'm looking for. Everything else got me stressed except the food. I know I'm going to enjoy the food. But they told me when I left, we had 3 documents. You know, here we only have a driver's license. In Peru, left you libreta electoral, which is how you voted. So call it the electoral ID. We had a libreta tributaria, which is how you pay your taxes. And a third one called libreta militar, which is how you showed that you had met your service. 3 things. And now it's 1 thing. So I had to go through that whole process of converting my 3 to 1. I think when I get there, I'm sure they're going to have questions for me. So anyway, I'm stressed. So thank you so much.